Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
hmm Obviously, I'm not home. So we're in my second home, or whatever we want to call it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So I'm curious, Sam, Maria, how are you feeling this morning about the topic?
I feel good.
Wow,
Yeah, I'm glad Maria picked the topic. I think it's a really good topic about therapy.
right. You should know it's Hannah approved.
Mhm.
When I said it, she said it's one of her favorite things about emergence.
Yeah, I think
So,
yes, I totally agree.
so
I
hmm,
just want to say that the video that Maria and Steve you did,
mhm.
oh my God.
Thank you, Vern.
Woo,
Thank you.
that
Um,
was so powerful.
It is my favorite video I've ever done of doing therapy of any kind.
So powerful. Maria, wow. That was amazing. Amazing work. Yeah.
And Maria, I'm just curious, has some of the effect, like some of the positive effects, stayed about your sleep and so on, or have you adjusted to the new level and now it's bothering you just as much?
Um,
Hard
well,
to say, right?
Vern, I have mixed feelings about sharing it. So
Okay,
you
then
might
don't
see
do
that in
it.
my reaction.
Okay, don't do
No,
it.
I'm just talking about sharing the video. Um,
Oh,
but since then, there's been so much that's happened, like the stuff with the low iron and like I am the constellations are happening so rapidly that I feel really overwhelmed.
hmm.
So my sleep,
So you
um,
can't have an accurate test, is what you're saying.
no, that night though, I remember having half a night's sleep actually feeling really safe and half the night's sleep feeling complete opposite. But it was for the first time that I felt like hope. I don't know that I could actually feel safe sleeping at night. Um
Hmm.
and
Wow.
you and I had talked you and I were on for like 3 hours. So there's a lot of context about my sleep that's not even in that video. Um
Yeah.
but yeah.
I think the reason why I'm asking is because this is for me, and I don't want to go first. I would like you to go first, Maria, and you second, Sam, because this has worked with us so well. But as I start, when I say something like this is probably the most fundamental idea of everything in emergence, whether it's about therapy, whether it's about science, whatever it's about. Um, the two that are one. And pairs of opposites are, um, in effect, the two that are one, the idea itself. But there's something very important about the kind of opposites that we use, which I just want to say as we preface this. Um, and the beginning, obviously, there's roots in so many other things like the Tao, and this is not an invention of mine that two pairs of opposites are important. What is important is that the pairs of opposites that we use are all a complete pair, like the Tao, the light and the dark. There's nothing in between. And yet there's infinite variation in the light, infinite variation in the dark, you know. Um, but one of the early applications is to understand what Maria is saying. And it's complicated because Maria has had things since that have been difficult. So, but her saying that even that one night where it was clear that she felt safe half the time, night and felt the way she's felt unsafe the other half of the night, this division is everything that we use to measure and everything that we use to define. Those are the two things to define something that we can measure and then to be able to measure it accurately is everything we have. Other than that, everything that we're saying is just my opinion. It's just bullshit, or whatever, or it's not in a peer-reviewed journal, or you know. So this is the most fundamental of all the basics groups that it could be. And why I'm saying this about Maria isn't just that she said half the night and half the, not. We could take that as just a rough approximation. But in emergence, when you have an injury, that injury where you 3 to 5 seconds and it triggers you into blankness, into a startle and a blank screen, or the blank, not an empty screen, but a blank screen. When something emerges that's positive, that pleasantly surprises you, it's exactly dividing the possibilities, which were used to be every single time you'd go blank. There's just one possibility. It is a natural thing. Being startled causes a natural, knowable sequence of things. So you're going to always go blank. There's very few things in human nature that are always things from the mind. Very few. So this is one of those things where that thing will trigger the same blankness in an infinite number of other circumstances, as long as the pattern is the same that sets it off. So one thing is blankness. Maria then emerged from that 3 hours that day with the possibility of a second thing. And the second thing was pleasantly surprising. So now you divide that blank piece in half. And now one half of it has information in it, surprisingly harmful, so surprisingly safe information, whatever it is. And then the other half is the half that remains, that's unhealed. This is the most primitive example of a two that are one. Now, why call it that? And this will be the last piece I do before Maria goes. In Greek, there are two prefixes that refer to something being in two parts. The one prefix is bi, and the other one is di. So binary means that the mathematics uses only two symbols. It's its nature. It starts out that way. The thing itself is, in its natural form, two things that are one thing. The binary system of numbers is the one, and it's a 0 and a 1. Okay. So bi in Greek refers to things that are by their very nature, it come in pairs already. That's it, right? So bifocals means that you have two things that focus your eyes. Two bifocals are glasses with two glasses. Okay. And the other one is die. And die is the word for something that the nature of it is a single thing, and then it becomes two things, that you divide it. And by doing that, you reduce each piece, okay? But it doesn't naturally come in a pair. So division, right? You divide an apple in half. The one apple is by its very nature one. If you cut the apple in half, you've divided the apple. You have not bivided the apple. There are no apples that come as two pieces, to a pair. So what we look at are the things that are the two are a pair of things that come naturally as that pair. But why am I saying this is natural if I had to do the work with Maria? Because really, the nature of an injury is that it can be healed. This is built into us. I'm not doing some magical, recreation of a person. And in children, most of their startles get healed by 4 or 5 years old because, say a kid falls down and they get startled and their knee is bleeding at 3 years old. Okay, they can get startled by that. And maybe from that point on, they're very careful about how they walk, which over the course of a lifetime will cause a lot of problems in the way that the person's body is formed. Maybe one leg is longer than the other, or some things like that. But if the kid falls down again or goes to fall down and mommy catches the kid, then the expectation of that fall and the pain will be interrupted and there'll be a new part. But that possibility always exists in the nature of a human being. So when the two pieces surface, it's a natural thing. All that emergence does in the therapy is help it along, optimize the chances that it will happen. I can't do some technique that's going to guarantee it. It's different every time, whatever. But that idea of dividing the injury, well, that injury already has within its nature the possibility of being healed. That's what's important. Whereas the apple does not have within its nature to be divided in two. It does not. When that happens, that's a man-made action on the apple. But life can cause emergencies, and it frequently does. And that is very important for us to see. We have not reinvented something that is in human nature. We have discovered it. And in discovering the nature of that, the healing process, the injury process and the healing process, we have discovered a natural pair that exists. But at the beginning, the whole beginning starts with there's only blankness. It's not lost on me that this is the beginning of things in the Old Testament. And then there was light, or let there be light, right? And that everything begins in the Old Testament about creation with everything is dark and chaotic. Everything in Persian mythology and many other things start with that everything is chaotic, which means unformed. It doesn't mean bad. It means without form and in darkness. Throughout many religions, certainly Christianity, they constantly talk about this idea of the light and the dark. It gets associated with bullshit like skin color. And the person who has dark skin is bad because they're traditionally used the bullshit about the darkness is bad. And so when we look at an injury, for me, the remarkable piece about this two that are one, an injury and then an emergence, is the idea that when you do not have an injury about something, the potential to get injured exists for your whole life in that area, for your whole life. But if you get injured at 3 and then mommy catches you and you have an aha at 3, neither the mother nor the child will likely remember that ever happening. But when the person runs track in 11th grade and becomes a terrific athlete at running, it is in part because the person has safety built into their sense of running. The exhilaration of mommy catching her at that age is built into her. Can she get that without having the injury? No, no. And the terrific piece of it is it functions as an inoculation that never goes away. If she goes and falls again, it's never going to be the same as it was before the emergence. The fall will always include the possibility of, I'm going to come out of this. It won't be that bad. I know what this is like. Okay. So I asked Maria about this because of that. Because somebody is going to say to us, well, look, emergence doesn't heal. Look, there's still symptoms. But there is always that division becomes two, where it's exactly what Maria says. Some of the night is safe, uniquely new, no memorable experiences before. That's critical. And she still remembers it today. And she's still able to refer to it today. And some of it is still unsafe. And so that's bifurcation. The natural thing actually has two parts, and the second part has come. In some sense, I'm saying that a life without injury is a very unsafe life. I am not saying we should have ever injure somebody deliberately, but that's just the truth. Fortunately, children are so susceptible to injury that we all have gotten tons of them, all of us. So it's a natural thing. You can't cause it and you can't prevent it. It just happens to all of us. And then the healing before what we're doing was a natural thing. Sometimes a person would go to talk therapy for a year and then something would emerge. And would they see that as a significant thing? As far as I know, everything I've read says, well, healing is a slow process and it's cumulative, and we've talked about all these things over the year, and here it is, which is not true because there are people who go to therapy for 20 years and don't change. There's no guarantee. There are people who go to your rehab, Vern, who go there and they leave changed from a single event, a single surprising event. And there are people who come to your rehab 5 times and they haven't changed for shit. And in some sense, it's not their fault. Of course, there were things they could have done better, but because an emergence in some ways is an accidental, pleasant surprise. I couldn't see it coming with Maria. Yet I'm not surprised in hindsight that it did happen. Well, I am surprised, but whatever. Anyway, that's enough for me. Maria,
It's a hard segue.
it is? Why?
Um,
Take a moment then.
yeah, I just wanted to do something real elementary, like like Tom's face. I just wanted to do like I really just kind of wanted to play with what is it like to just try to find the two
I
that are
love
one.
it.
What's it like to just try to find complementary opposites?
I love
And
it.
I, I did my classic in my head this morning. Some of you might not know my classic, but my classic is Gene doesn't love me. So I went, okay, then I go the next step. Okay, why doesn't he love me? Oh, because he doesn't show it. Okay, so show must mean it has to be visible. And then I say, can love be invisible? And then my whole can somebody love me and it be invisible to me? And that is something, if I'm only looking at the one side, I don't have all the possibilities of how I could be wrong or how I could heal it or how I could see that he actually does love me. Even just something so basic like that could change. It just it broke my brain open this morning. And I so yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to play. I just wanted to play with where would you guys even start? Um, could we pick a topic and just kind of try to throw opposites out there? Um, because a complementary opposite is different than an opposite and they can be really hard, like they can be hard to differentiate, I found. So maybe does anybody have a topic that they want to just throw up that we can do complementary opposites about? Like I just said, Gene doesn't love me.
Let me pause you, Maria. So
Yeah.
when you're asking for a topic, I'm wondering how many people are trying to find the right topic as opposed to any topic at all with no
Yeah.
thought of pairs of opposites. Just what's something
Oh
you're
yeah.
interested
No, yeah. Don't you no, you don't have to know it yet. Yeah. Sarah.
For those in my sponsor group, one of my classics is I'm not a good therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is your greatest hits. Oh yeah.
We should all do our greatest hits today.
100%. Oh yeah.
So
So do
that
you
could,
have a thought, Sarah? Like where you go first?
because maybe I didn't give a good enough response or I
Oh
didn't,
no. Okay, you're going to the evidence of why you're right.
yeah.
No,
Oh,
no, no. Yeah, no. You'll stay there forever, Sarah.
so true. All right,
So
wait, tell me again. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not a good therapist, right? Trying to find a complementary opposite of
Oh,
that,
would that automatically be I'm a good therapist?
it could, it could,
Is
Let's
not.
but
let's talk about what
yeah.
let's talk about that.
Do you want to talk about it, Steve?
Look. Okay. Can everybody see Sarah just relived a fucking injury at the thought that she might not have said it perfectly? My God.
Because
So,
I have
so
been
Sarah,
working.
in this topic, you feel like you know what a good therapist is, correct? Because you know you're not one. That's right. So you know what a good one is. So what is a bad therapist, Sarah? Do you have a sense of what a bad therapist is?
A bad therapist. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting because a part of me immediately was like, actually, I don't know. But then my quick thought was somebody that you leave and you don't feel like there was any gain. Like I always feel you
Oh
didn't
my
feel
God,
connected.
I'm a bad therapist a lot then. Oh
Like,
my God. That's a fucking high hurdle. Holy shit, man.
like I didn't feel if I don't feel connected to oh, Tom, you had one. What was yours?
Oh, okay.
Well, you
Let me
Tom
see,
wanted
pause.
to get in
Wait.
on this one. He
Yeah.
wanted
I won.
This
You just made that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
let me pause because this has brought up the first piece of what does it require? What is a
yes,
requirement to create or to refer to, not create, to refer to a pair of opposites. And the word is a naturally occurring pair of opposites.
Hmm.
Good and bad are man-made opposites.
yes,
Right and wrong are man-made opposites. We can know that because the opinions vary infinitely in exactly the way that you're talking about what makes somebody a good or bad therapist. There's no answer.
Hmm.
We could talk about it and but it's not a naturally occurring pair of opposites, let alone complementary. Anyway,
Hmm.
naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Man-made is something that people make up, right? Okay, I want to just bring up, okay, a man-made statement would be Asian women can't drive well. This is a legendary bullshit thing. I can't believe it even exists, but who the fuck would say something like that? But that's man-made. It's not, there's nothing in nature that says any woman is a less driver than a man or more. There's nothing. It's man-made. It's a bullshit thing. So a natural pair of opposites.
not Athena.
Tom?
Um, I don't. So when you asked the question, Maria, what about the complementary opposites, my first thought was both sides need to be defined, and where does it tip?
Mm.
Before you say that, and adding to what you're saying, Tom, the idea that there's a pair of opposites about the kinds of things we can talk about. There are natural opposites and there are man-made opposites, and that's the beginning of the oppositeness. And so what are we doing? Well, we're ruling out man-made opposites because by their very nature, they're not real. They're somebody's opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like even if this may be a little past basic, but like even when Sarah's bringing up, she brought up something that's man-made pattern or whatever. But
Yes.
underneath there is lots of natural patterns. In the th in what she's saying, like there's you either have empathy or you don't. For instance, that's a pair of opposites. Sarah has no empathy for herself about the thing, and so
That's
and
excellent
there's a bunch of
example.
other ones too, like blame, no blame. There's a lot that usually even in a man-made, if you dig in a little more personal, you can get to a natural thing.
But I even went to something so basic as therapists that help, therapists that harm.
Okay, yeah.
And to say for you, Sarah, I mean, if you were to even just start with that tipping point, are you
Oh,
are you harming people?
that's a much lower, that's a nice bar that I like that better. That standard is much better than the ones that she was talking about.
Well, it's scary that this is going to be posted on YouTube because, like, I don't think I harm people, but I don't know. I don't know if I hurt people that I don't know of.
But Sarah,
Yeah,
here's another
yeah.
opposite. You think you help, they think you help. You
Yep.
think you harm, they think you harm. These
Yep.
things don't line up. Like,
This is a difficult thing because you see, now this is one of those things where the words, we have things we can use to measure, but quite honestly, we don't have something that absolutely measures help or harm.
no,
We
nobody.
don't. In other
Yeah.
words, probably one of the worst feelings that I have ever had is when I have said something to a client and they're devastated. And I so blame myself for having done something wrong. Meanwhile, how often the next week has the person come in and
Oh yeah.
gone, I was so mad at you when I left, but you changed my life?
Yes.
Right. So now when we talk about harm and help, again, in some way, this is a man-made pair of words.
Mm.
But as Sam said, within the topic of harm and help, there are a whole bunch of naturally occurring opposites which we can refer to.
Oh, like scene story is in the one you just said. Like it felt harmful in the scene, but helpful in the story. I mean, it's just,
Oh, that's perfect, Sam.
yeah.
Perfect.
Oh my God.
Tom.
I was gonna say, there's also, am I doubting myself? Am I not doubting myself?
It's
Because
very tough, Tom. Again, what this is really a
The
very good start.
negation thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
but that's correct. Negation is not a pair of opposites. It doesn't name the opposite. It just says it's not the one thing.
Hmm. I didn't know that.
What about the opposite of like connection or like and disconnection or the opposite of connection?
Okay. If it was well defined, Sarah,
Yeah.
connection and disconnection is something we refer to,
Mhm.
but it's more that we're skilled at it and we have tons of pre-learning and we can refer to it. But there are measures. For instance, the most critical measure of connection is when a person is hurting and then um, the you connect and the pain is no longer there during the connection. And I don't care what this is, whatever it is. Um, it connection, the pain can't exist in connection. Now, this is an outrageous claim. Um, but if pain still exists, it's causing you to disconnect in those seconds or minutes or whatever. But my example in one of my books was the man who was fixing his furnace and the oil from the furnace got on his body and a spark hit it and he was on fire in his basement. And his wife came down and knew what to do and covered him with a blanket or something. Now, he then, being him, drove himself to the hospital. And he had, and I don't remember how the numbers are, but he had the worst kind of burns you can have. His flesh was falling off his arms. And he goes into the hospital, and is admitted, and he's on a gurney, and they're preparing him to do whatever they do with burn victims. And for whatever example at this time, he had to have his pubic hair shaved. I don't know, maybe his legs were burned. I don't know. Okay. And the person who was doing this was a man, or now male nurse, who he had gone to high school with. And what does he say? He quips in that moment and says, I guess we'll have to be married now. He told me multiple times that in that, whatever, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, he felt no pain after that. By them laughing together. He is one of the most horrible, horribly physically painful things ever that anybody could have. And for a brief period, he felt no pain. So this is a natural pair of opposites. When you're in pain and you connect, the pain stops. So in some sense, we could say that pain is a profound experience of aloneness because connection is then the profound experience of being without that pain. But it's more than just being without the pain. It's not just not. It is an experience that's so pleasant that is as pleasant as the thing without it is painful. Anyway. I mean, as therapists, how many times do you sit and talk with somebody and they're coming in and they're suffering, and within a certain amount of time during the session, the pain decreases and they leave relatively painless because you've connected for a good portion of the time. Now, it isn't going to be a permanent change because without an aha, the permanence isn't there. But it is a change nonetheless because of connection. So, Sarah, do you ever have you had any client ever connect to you?
Oh, client. Well, I can tell a personal experience. I
No,
was
I don't
meeting
want to hear it.
listening.
Please. Have
Okay.
you ever had a client connect to you? Have you ever felt connected to a client?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see how you have no aha about that?
Yeah. Because I'm trying to like ping. I have one person in my head, but then I'm trying to ping pong to somebody else, but then I don't feel as connected.
Okay, pause, Sarah.
Trying to
Pause.
find the
Pause.
perfect
Stop. Stop. Okay. Can everybody see that Sarah immediately went to the opposite? I asked her if she had a time where she connected to a client, and immediately and involuntarily and with great urgency, she wanted to tell me about a time where she didn't do it or it didn't happen or so, right? But this is a natural pair of opposites. Sarah didn't choose that. It happened to her.
Hmm.
So whatever is in her that says she's not helping clients, and all we're talking about is, okay, but you're temporarily helping them at least every time you connect. They feel less pain. It's not even up to you. If you connect, it happens. Period. Right? But you're not seeing that as something that you do for your clients. It's happening whether you try or not, Sarah. You're a likable person.
And the aha too is like it could just be a 10-second piece of humor that is the piece of connection, not a
Good.
whole.
That's right, Sarah. But you need to see that it involved you, that it happened. It would not have happened without you in that hour of that person's life. And you need to be able to take credit for that, at least that piece of spirituality and psychology and so on is such that you help, whether you like it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, the person is still helped. I mean, this happens to Vern, to every person you speak to in the rehab where you connect to them. Every single time you connect, their pain is decreased, is gone. It's not just decreased, it's gone in those moments. Gone. Then the hard thing is to know that when the connection breaks, the pain will resume because there's been no emergence. But still, taking credit for that happens. Anyway, sorry, Maria, I'm hogging.
Vern, you've been working on these.
You
What has
know
your
what?
experience been?
It's interesting because as we came into this seminar today, what I put at the top of my page was pair of opposites, as in something that I would hope we would talk about.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, that was wild. Yeah, I use pair of opposites in all of my groups, but I don't think I'm doing necessarily natural pairs of opposites,
Mhm.
or I'm using
And
it.
when me and you were trying to find one about what you had brought up one day, I was like, I don't know, this one's hard to get to like the real essence of something. Is I mean, when Steve and I are doing maps and stuff, it's hours of just like, how do you get to the raw essence of something?
Mhm.
Yeah, and even though they may not be natural or perfect, just having people look at,
Yes,
you know, opening their vision
yes.
to two sides,
Mhm.
is really, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I learn more, hopefully I'll be able to more and more use a
Hmm.
pair of perfect opposites, but you know, even having people, because that's what's happened to me in Emergence. I was a kind of a Pollyanna kind of person, only see the good in people, but there's not just good in people, there's not just good in me. I'm complicated, there's a lot involved, but to be able to see the beauty in looking at different sides, and my vision opening to um, things that I never saw before, you know, words of kindness and all kinds of things. Yeah. So um, I see the value. I want to have a better understanding about natural pair of opposites. Hmm.
I think I had an aha recently about just watching Steve get to them. And a lot of the time it can look like it's just on the surface. It's just there immediately and he doesn't have to do any work to get it. And watching you stay when me and you did it was hours. Me and you did, I don't even know what we ended up calling it, but it was like the pre-learning map. Um, where we were doing things about anthropomorphy and things like, do you remember that?
Hmm.
It was so hard. We were just writing and rewriting. I don't, it's not this, looking this up, it's not that, it's this, it's that. And sitting in that kind of it was suffering. It was effort, it was hard, there were points where we were disconnected. Um so what are you finding, Vern, when you're looking?
Um, I'm trying to listen. Um, yeah, sometimes I have kind of preconceived pair of opposites that I present, you
Hmm.
know. Um, and every once in a while in a session, maybe on a one-on-one or something like that, I can hear it. Like it, I can hear it in how the person is talking, you know. Yeah, but yeah, I just don't feel, yeah, it doesn't come naturally yet. That's what I can say. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my misconception about you, Steve, that
Well,
they just came naturally.
so this is something to keep in mind, all of you, about this. It took me more than 10 years to have the first aha about startles. 10 years. And I don't mean I waited 10 years. I mean every single day I meditated. First 2 years it sucked because I kept thinking about my laundry or whatever. Um, but for a good portion of it, most of it, I sat on top of one and then another small mountain near my house. So I'd have to climb a cliff or a rocky hill to get there and to go back. And the act of doing that put my mind in a certain state. It took me out of the world and you put me into a natural, a keyword, natural state. I was closer to the earth. I was closer to the world because I climbed then because I knew I'd have to climb down. And it wasn't a 2 minute climb. It could have been, depending on the day, 20 minutes. Um, I was far enough away from civilization that I just was affected by the beauty every single time. Now, just think of the environment that I'm saying I was in to discover the first pair of opposites to me. This is not a natural, this is a natural place. We don't live in a natural environment. Almost everything around us is man-made in one way or another. Our houses, our clothing, our relationships to a large degree. If we read a self-help book or we look at go to a seminar or something ordinarily, and we hear something about our relationships, how many times do you leave thinking, okay, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm going to try and do that now. but almost all of them are will-powered efforts to be something that our nature is not yet. And so, of course, they're exciting, and then you see them fail, and then you think, oh, okay, the whole world is bullshit. But in this time, I was suicidal. I wasn't just apart from nature. I was apart from myself, my own nature. And so my own nature became, everything in it became suspect. Why am I suffering so bad? And so I was removed from the nature of the outside world, and I was removed from the man-madeness of the outside world and the man-madeness of my own mind. And then I I have this event where I realize what happened to a woman that I had just met recently, where she liked me, and then we're standing on top of one of these mountains. We were going to meditate there, and she's saying to me that she likes me more than someone else, and I go, okay. She says it again, and I go, yeah, yeah, okay. And then I say it a third time, and she says, take me home. And that pair of opposites of 1 minute she's in love with me, and the next minute take me home, and I had nothing had occurred. That was it. That was the whole thing. That was where all of these oppositeness comes from. That oppositeness. And so what did it do? Made me think and whatever and suffer until I realized, oh shit. She had told me a story where her alcoholic father took her and her younger brothers into the basement frequently, and he would beat them. And before he would beat them, he would say, look into my eyes. And so that's the beginning of everything we're talking about today. And that's 30 years ago. 30 years ago, this month, as a matter of fact, 30 years ago. And what is the first pair of opposites? Well, the first piece was the startle, realizing that's what happened. And then weeks later, I go and I have the other story about getting decaf coffee. And what does that result in? I have my first aha that I could see happening. And that natural pair of opposites, getting startled and emerging from the startle, everything comes from that pair. In some sense, that's the pair underneath everything we do. All learning, falling in love, like everything, becoming more conscious, healing. So then it's taken me, what, almost 30 years to begin to talk about that pair of opposites as a naturally occurring pair of perfect opposites. Before that, I used the word complementary for years, and most people, that doesn't make sense to them. What the hell does that mean? And perfect opposites, naturally occurring perfect opposites, are, we don't make them. We may give it a name, but we don't make them. And then there is a completeness to them because between the two pairs, they account for all possibilities of that topic. That's the piece that's really difficult. And Vern, not to diminish you in any way what you said, that is, you are doing something which is very useful. And the value of the thing is, does it actually generate a person, increase a person's ability to love, if only temporarily even? Well, then it's valuable. But for us, we are looking at the theoretical, perfect description of it. And so in some way, we do this because it makes it teachable. Because somebody can have way, way different examples in their life for it. But if we have the sine qua non, the thing without which the thing wouldn't be the thing, the essence of the thing, if we have that, then no matter who hears the thing, there is this strong possibility that they'll see some example that's true about it. Anyway, ugh, sorry, Maria, this is horrible. I'm being terrible.
I don't know what to say. Yeah, Tom.
I had to do this recently with Steve. because I'm doing this thing for nursing and trying to find pairs of opposites fucking brutal.
Mm.
Just finding pairs of opposites, let alone perfect pairs of opposites. Sam
Like,
was
what do you mean about nursing? Do you have like examples?
well, I've been working on a framework for nursing so that other nurses can use it as a means of I guess practicing. Um, and it was like, where the fuck do I start?
Mm,
And we just went back to basics, and it was like, well, what's visible, what's invisible, what's
mhm,
changing, what's not changing,
mhm.
and one of the things was diarrhea versus constipation, right? It's medical, right?
That's a good one.
Right, and it made me smile because I got a weird thing about poop. So
That's a good example, Tom. It's natural,
yeah,
and really the difference is perfect. I don't think a person's going to mistake one for the other.
I had an injury about poop, and before I became a nurse. So
Did you heal it?
yeah, I mean, that makes me laugh every time we talk about poop. So
So what else about nursing, Tom?
well, um, all the nursing frameworks that exist are like single points.
Mm,
It's all like focused on just the patient, or like you should be focused on caring, or you should be focused on this or that. And it's like, well, maybe focus on the relationship if you're going to pick a point. Um, so I'm trying to focus on the relationship between the patient and the nurse rather than just the patient, or
mm.
just specifically the connection or whatever.
What are some of the single point things that they have? Like, could we do a pair of opposites with it?
I mean, you could try. So, well, one of them is oh my God, I can't remember. Is it Orem? It's one of the famous nurses that had a framework out, and it was I can't remember her last name, but it was her framework for caring.
For
And it was all,
caring.
yeah.
What the hell does it look like?
I'd have to actually like pull it up on it. Like I'd have to look it up. I'd have to Google it. I haven't looked at it since nursing school. So
Is it like telling you how to care or what caring looks like? Or
um,
Is it the Swansons?
no, we don't do chicken broth here.
I'm trying to even think what a pair of opposites with caring.
Um, Apathy. I don't know. Empathy, apathy. I don't.
So that's a good example of a thing that's not quite right. And don't hear it as wrong, Tom.
It's the
Apathy,
whole point of us doing this because it's so hard.
it's so hard. Apathy is a description of your state of mind. Caring is a description of something you're valuing, at least in the broad sense. And so one of the examples that it guides me when I'm looking for pairs of opposites is they have to be the same form of a kind of a word. Two nouns, two verbs, two adjectives. They have to be both that. And when I create a map, often I'll put in something that's just like what you said, Tom, but I'll know that I have to come up with a better word on one side or the other, that I have to make them the same kind of words. So,
Yeah. So, basically, it was Watson's theory of caring, or caring framework, or whatever the fuck we want to call it. Um,
Watson, did
yeah,
you say?
she was a nurse, and prior to the framework that she had worked on, everything was just mechanical. It was like these are your nursing tasks. This is what you have to do. You have to adjust the bed. You have to clean the bedpan. You gotta, get the patient moving around and this, that, and the other thing. And then Watson started looking at like a more holistic approach to things, and so
So let's take the thing you just said, Tom, about the word caring.
mm,
Okay. Can anybody see the natural oppositeness without saying the word uncaring? That's not good enough. Okay. What is, and I'm going to claim that this is in our theory already, although we don't usually use the word, it's in our theory already as a perfect pair of opposites involving caring. One of the most basic things we ever talk about.
I'm loving the wind up.
You are? What's it like?
Like borderline suffer and excitement, just tipping back and forth. Suffer,
Oh,
excite, suffer, excite, suffer, excite.
pair of opposites. Okay. And you notice you didn't make it happen. It's happening to you naturally.
Yeah.
Okay. Sarah, thoughts?
Said, aha. So a pair of opposites doesn't have to be a literal pair of opposites, like suffer and excite. I wouldn't like if you said what's the opposite of suffer, I would never think excite.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they're not. Yeah.
Okay. Eric has answered the question roughly. I don't know if any of you noticed. He
Whose needs?
and here's the point. Caring requires that you be in your natural state. So if you are me first, caring means you're caring about yourself, but it by its very nature means you're not caring about the other. You cannot care about yourself and the other person at the same time because caring by its very nature means someone is being cared about and others are not. What about the idea of when it seems that both people are being cared for? No, that's connection. And connection, we could say that both people are being cared about, but it means that there's nothing to care about. Your needs are met. Needs are gone. They don't exist. The pain of aloneness that humans live with every moment is temporarily gone. So our character type determines who we care about in the moment. Now, that's not referring to behavior. It is referring to our inner self urges, the experience of it. So I can care about another person, but take care of myself behaviorally. But normally, I only have the ability to care about others because I'm a two. So this is one of these fundamental things about character type one, where this is they probably arguably they get the most blame of any human being on earth, that 25%. But by their very nature, they can't care about others internally, even though they can behave in a caring way, which to the credit, that takes effort, right? Just as I have to take care of myself and it takes effort. But that word caring is built into character type. You can't care about something you can't see. And we can only care about either us or others. And that's a natural, perfect pair of opposites. Me, the me state, and the you state. And caring is an outgrowth of the word need. Whose needs can you see? But by its very nature, if you see the needs, you care. You care to see them. It's not you're giving care. You have whatever that feeling is that it matters. Their suffering matters or your suffering matters. So even in this, look at how complex the word care is. And yet, underneath it, there is a natural pair of opposites that helps us to understand that word at least somewhat. Whereas most of the thing that you're talking about, Tom, is what would care look like if the person acted on it, which is this is the world. The world defines personality by behavior. The medical community defines, needs by behavior. Tom, have you ever been in a situation, for instance, at the VA, where you cared about the person suffering, but you chose to not do anything about it because it would have made things worse?
Yeah,
Can you give an example? Of vagueness, because this will be posted, but just an example.
yeah. And I was even yelled at for it. The person had a fever, not a high fever, and I know that I can give them Tylenol and it'll take the fever away and maybe make them feel a little better, but it's gonna make the illness last longer. So I chose not to give them the Tylenol. And the nurse said, "What are you doing? They have a fever." And I said, "They're gonna stay sick longer if I give them this. They're not in any danger right now."
Mm.
And they said, "You're a nurse." So what the fuck does that mean?
So now, can anybody make a rough description of what care means to the person that Tom was talking to, the other nurse? Can somebody say anything about it?
You have to make people not suffer immediately. I don't know. Your behavior has to,
Yes.
you have to do whatever you can in that immediate moment so they don't suffer.
Yes, Maria. Yes. Yes.
That's interesting. I feel like I can relate to that when I sit with certain people more than others, but it's like the pressure to like end the suffering versus is that
That's right.
is my caring actually better shown by letting them suffer so that they can work on their healing? Like,
Sarah, you have hit on the battle in all of alcoholism and drug addiction treatment. The battle. You want to speak about that a little, Vern?
Yeah, I just had a situation yesterday where a client came in.
Okay, wait. Be careful about what you're saying.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
no,
guys.
no
Okay,
worries.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Client came in and they were triggered. Something in a group triggered them.
Mhm.
And she was like, I just want to use. I just want to use. And I want that feeling to go away. I don't want that feeling. And I sat her down in front of me and I said, I want you to be with me right now. And um, let's just sit with this feeling
Mm,
because you're going to have this feeling when you
mm,
leave here lots and lots and lots of times.
mm.
And I want you to just sit with me, even if you can only do it for a minute, sit with me in this feeling. And she was able to do it. And I don't know how much, you know, I think obviously she was able to leave my office at some point. So, and it wasn't that long either. And so teaching her that sitting with the feeling won't cause her to die, you know, and things shift, you know. Yeah, so definitely it's a part of the experience, you know, but just being with as opposed and knowing that I can't change the suffering. It's not my responsibility to change the suffering. It's not my suffering.
But
It's
And
that
also,
person's
it's a,
suffering.
also perfect opposite, Vern, because she's saying, I want it to go, and you're going, well, I want it to stay. Like, how about we just have it stay on purpose? That oppositeness can do a number because it literally is the opposite. It's like it's intrusive to her, it's horrible, and you're inviting it. Invited is the
Mm,
opposite of intrusive
mm,
or
mhm.
intruded, I guess. But so yeah, I mean that literally is a good example.
yeah, I think that even the idea of seeing Vern, the example's perfect. Now seeing that could be your example of a natural pair of opposites. That's perfect. The direction the client wants to go in to get rid of the pain, it's horrible, is a natural occurrence. I don't think most normal human beings want to be in that situation. It's painful as hell. And the person's in treatment, which to many people's idea of treatment or therapy of all kinds is supposed to take the pain away. It's the main motivating factor for people to go there. Okay. And Sam is so right. That's such a natural pair of opposites. The thing that you may not have realized, even though you're intuitively doing it perfectly, is the theoretical thing it points to, which is that you're giving her the option to see a previously invisible opposite that she could choose to stay in the suffering, as opposed she was forced to stay in the suffering. And when she came in, she only had the one option. Either I am forced to stay in this, or you, the external force, get me out of this. I'm sure she didn't come in there going, well, I know Vern can get me out of this. I'm sure she hoped, she asked, but I'm sure she didn't come in there being certain about it. Okay. But the point was that more than just giving her the oppositeness, by giving her the oppositeness, you gave her the possibility of choice inside herself. So it isn't just, you're using the pair of opposites, but in the sense of healing, you're trying to get the person to see choice, at least some degree. Maria, in her healing through that video, has some degree of choice. And where's the proof? Because this morning she's able to look at that positive, and as she speaks about that part of the night where she felt safe, she smiles. There exists the possibility of choice, doesn't mean she can take it, but it means it's possible. And that woman came in there with no possibility on her own that she could ever not have that pain, that it was inevitable that she was going to use again. And so, even in that simple thing, hard for you, I'm not saying it was easy, but even in that simple idea lies the idea of complete change in the person, being that they gain the ability to know they have it in them to have choice. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a killer opposite about it's happening to you versus you chose it. And a lot of people would never think to choose the thing that's happening to them because it's so awful. But if they do that, oftentimes they emerge. Like there's a classic case in a Viktor Frankl book where the guy had a terrible stutter his whole life. And he got onto a trolley car in San Francisco or something, and he was broke. He didn't have the money for the trolley. And the person was coming to collect the money, and he thought the guy with the stutter thought, I'm gonna stutter on purpose and I'll be so tragic the guy's not gonna be able to charge me. And when he went to go stutter on purpose, he spoke perfectly clearly, and it fucked him over. And he had this massive aha, that he never had tried to stutter on purpose his whole life. He'd had a fucking stutter. He never once tried to do it. He always tried not to do it. And he chose the thing instead of it happening to him. And he just emerged and had this giant aha about stuttering. It was just incredible. But that's the same thing you're doing, Vern. It's the choose the thing that's happening to you. But no one would think to do it. It's not in human nature to think to do that, honestly. But for you on the outside, maybe, but the person inside, it's not. They're not like, oh, let me do this on purpose. Let me up my craving.
There is a therapist that I had I did see use, and it's one of the few times I ever was just really rapt attention. Carbone is the man's name, and he is the most brilliant therapist about people having panic attacks. And his entire method is what Sam just described. A guy who was having a panic attack about going into supermarkets. He told the guy, okay, I want you to go into the supermarket and have a worse panic attack.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing I do. I feel like I used to, at the rehab, people would have panic attacks all the time. And my classic panic attack whisperer thing would be to get them, take them into my office, sit down and say, I want you to try to panic worse, but also see my face. Try to see my face and panic worse at the same time. It just is hard. It's just the opposite of when you panic, you're so alone.
Mhm.
It's just all these opposites, and it just plays quick. I mean, it's crazy.
So, Maria, I want to ask you before we switch, what's your favorite pair of natural opposites?
My favorite pair?
What is a favorite, one of your favorite pairs? Because, excuse me, you're seen first, and
Yes.
the favorite pair is a mistake on my part. One of your favorite pairs of what is something you use with your daughters to help you to understand how to mother them?
I mean, connection and disconnection, it's like a constant. It's a constant. Um, my inner outer layered. Um,
It's so,
probably
go
with
ahead.
them,
Yes.
um, when I give up the resistance of being the adult and then being the child and I become the child, that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun there where I start the the normal pattern is I'm like trying to discipline or get them to pay attention to something or do something, and then I just start either doing what they're doing or I start just like flailing about, the things that you've shared with me over time. I have so much fun with it. Like,
Everybody
they
notice Maria's,
Lissetti literally says, Mama, what are you doing? Like she can't, she comes out of whatever she's in and she's like, what are you doing, Mama? Why are you doing this?
consider why that affects. Okay. Yesterday on the flight to Asheville, um, the people who were sitting next to me in the waiting room, in the waiting area in the airport in Newark, um, it was a young couple, and they had a little boy who was probably 18 months old, who had a little tiny rabbit, stuffed rabbit, and whiny. "Rah!" Okay, so they're sitting near me in the thing. I'm in the third row. They're in the first row, and the kid's going, "Wah!" Okay, so as we get off, I don't know how this happens, but I'm like, I hate being stuck on a plane. I panic. So I'm out of my seat and I'm right at the front waiting for the door to open. And I have my suitcase and everything. And the father is standing there with the little boy in his arms with the little rabbit. And he starts to go, "Wah!" And so what do? Well, most of you would already know. I do a little, the kid's face was like, what? Like completely and utterly. And the whole plane, first they were kind of like, what? Is he doing something wrong to the kid? And then everybody just smiles. And I got off the thing. Okay. So the thing you're saying, Maria, is probably one of the best pairs of opposites for young children ever,
Mm.
ever, you know? But now add to that. Is there ever a day where, with your daughters, you don't remember one is body first and one is mind first, and that guides your mothering?
Oh my
Okay.
God, it's
Is there
everywhere.
ever a day where you don't know that one is me first and one is you first, and that guides your parenting? Like, look at those are so specific, obvious, and they're so obvious that they're like air for you.
Astrid, go brush your teeth. No. And she runs. No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. But they are the first little beings to be raised with parents who know these things,
Mm.
to knowing them. There are people who do them, like Vern is intuitively doing something that is completely the opposite of what many people do in addictions. She's intuitively doing the perfectly right thing. So it isn't a matter of that she needs to learn emergence to do the right thing because she's already doing it. The learning emergence is to be able to pass it to somebody else who doesn't get it by their life because it's so rare that somebody gets it by their life.
Mm.
In fact, I think that there are no people who don't, you can't have it without great suffering in your lifetime that somehow you stay with it and you come to it. And there are many people who do the right thing, like that guy Carbone. He doesn't know anything about emergence, and he's the best at helping panic attacks that I have ever seen. Not that there's no one else, obviously, probably there are, but he's written books and he's making explicit these are the ways that I behave in order to help. Sam is so similar to him, but Sam can teach what he's doing. And this guy Carbone, he can show what it's like, but he can't point to the essence and therefore have the person have an aha about it where they can make it in whatever form they want. In his case, that people make techniques from his book. He makes techniques, step one, step two, step three. But the truth is, if you just follow those steps, it doesn't actually match the person all the time, you know? Anyway, Sarah.
I had a question about resistance and like, is there a way that it can backfire? Because like I'm thinking about, let's just say I'm thinking about a client that's like resistant to coming to group. I don't know. And if I'm like, rather than saying, you need to come to group, right? The opposite would be like, I want you to avoid as many groups as possible. Like that, I feel like that doesn't work. Like that would be the opposite of what needs to be. How does that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, you want to pick this up?
It's impossible to pick it up context independent, but it really it would come down to like what's the context. But I mean, I think obviously the literal person probably has to go to group in that setting, right? It's like a treatment center. But you
Yeah.
could it doesn't mean you can't play with it, you know? Like if I saw that person before group that wants to avoid group, I would be like, I don't want to go to group. Let's go hide somewhere. And I
Mm.
might even literally go hide with them playfully and be like, I can't really hide. We gotta go. I mean, something that at least a little bit went with the resistance, even if I can't completely act out the opposite because of the context of there's just rules and insurance isn't going to pay if they don't go to the group or whatever. I mean, I would try to find something.
Okay. I have something to add. And completely, I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree at all, Sam. Of course, that's the problem. Here's the thing. I don't know where I picked this up from, but from something where they're teaching people to be salespersons. And it's a principle. And it says never try and get somebody to buy something. And this applies to what you're saying. Never try to get the person to go to group. Said always give the person two choices
Mm.
because that feels less like being forced and it feels like they have a choice. And so you could say, look, I don't want you to go to group. I know that you're going to get kicked out and that's the other side, but and if you go to group, you can stay, but that'll be up to you.
Yeah.
And
So
so Sam is right, right, about the difficulty, and you have to be careful and you can't do something ethically wrong, but presenting it, take it to be clever and present it in a way that the person is making a choice, even if
I
it's not obvious.
I
Yes.
think I didn't real so I recently said something to somebody and I realized my mistake is I should have given them the choice afterwards, like when I thought about that. But I'm also recognizing that I am probably going with their resistance, somebody else's resistance when I say, how bad do you not want to be in group today? How bad do you not want to be in group today? Right? Or like I'll say to them, guys, I'm sick and tired of listening to your like check-ins. I don't want to do that. Like, what else can we do? Right? Is that
Okay. First of all, Sarah, the idea that I'm saying is it has to be presented as the person's choice. You
I said
can't divide it and say one part because all that will do is create resistance. You have to state it as the pair every time you state it.
So if I said we can either do check-ins or we can do a different topic, that would be better than I don't want to listen to the check-ins.
Okay. You could say, are you talking about starting a group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The famous Sam star opening thing is, okay, and it's the pair of opposites is implied. How many people here think this group is going to be bullshit?
Hmm.
Now, look at Sam laughing, look at Fern laughing. Okay,
People are so relieved. They've been
but
waiting their whole life to be asked that.
but why is that the pair of opposites? Because it's so expected that the group will be unpleasant or boring or something for every person in the group that it surprises people that you're even naming the other side the possibility. And it's 50 things are happening there. One of the things is you're joining with all those people, at least the words are, you're joining with them in their expectation that the group is going to be bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a complex example because both of the things aren't named because the one side of it is so embedded in everybody, you don't have to. But most times, Sarah, when you're trying to do that with the person going to group and you're saying, look, you can either not come to group, you'll get kicked out then, or you can come to group and endure the bullshit, but you won't get kicked out. And so you're giving them the menu,
Yeah.
right? You're not just saying, okay, this is what you're going to take from the menu. And
That's a good, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. Oh, wow. This group is friggin' smoking me, man. In terms of just seeing myself, like my thought process is almost pairs of opposites. Like every second, it's.
yes,
But I didn't realize that until really this group, and I also didn't realize that I can say pairs of opposite easily, but teaching people how to look for it is
yes,
actually pretty complicated. Everyone really understands them when we say them out loud, but in my mind, I don't know if I can go even 1 minute. Like even when Sarah's asking the question, I'm seeing an opposite of, okay, Sarah's nature is looking for a rule. But Sarah, do you ever observe the opposite? Like what do you think the opposite of looking for a rule is?
Sort of being spontaneous.
You see,
Mm, yeah.
I
that's a
don't even know.
really, okay, that's a really interesting beginning, Sarah. That's very much like what Maria was describing with me when we're coming up with the map or something. It is a good beginning. It has something to do with it. Word-wise, it doesn't match the oppositeness, Sam's form of words,
Mhm.
but essence-wise, it fits well.
It's like structure versus not.
Yeah.
So I guess I can like this is, but my point is, yeah. Well, actually, I don't mind diving into that. But my point is like that's literally how my mind is all the time. Just you
Yes.
talk and I go to that, and
Yes.
then I start wondering on the side, like, is the opposite asking a question that looks to get rid of a rule? Like, are there questions that want ask for a rule, and there are questions that try to get rid of a rule, or ask to be rid from? I mean, these are just primitive thoughts that I have. They're really a mess. But that's the kind of shit that I'm thinking, like and all the time. And there's so many kinds of pairs of opposites. It's actually overwhelming. Like some people I'm sure are dying trying to think of one. I'm trying not to think of too many because the options are a nightmare. Like when you shared earlier, I'll just stay with you, Sarah. Like when you said the thing, I don't remember the exact words, like I'm not a good therapist. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Like if you were in my client, I would think a million pairs of opposites, not just about that, but um okay, like for instance, here's one opposite. I mean, do you have a sense of how it feels when you think that about yourself?
Self-deprecating, small. Um,
Okay, tell who do you think in here also is not a good therapist? Right. Can you see okay, can you see how effortless it is for you to
yeah.
call yourself bad? But if I say tell somebody, pick who in here you think is the worst besides you. Pick somebody.
I mean, I would have to pick Athena because Athena's not a therapist.
Okay, that's a cop out. Pick somebody that is a therapist. That is, and who's the worst besides you?
No, no, because like
Yeah, you don't know. Stop, stop. Can you see the opposite though? But this is the kind of shit that I mean is in my head. It's like if someone's calling themselves whatever, I'll often have them just say, just look me in the eye and call me that thing. And it's like, whoa, they don't want to you don't want to do that, right, Sarah?
no.
Can you feel that it's painful? But do you see how you understand the pain of it more when I'm trying to get you to do the opposite, which is call somebody else that fucking thing?
Hmm.
So anyway, this is way, but my point is this group is enlightening me about like this shit is just in my head all the time, infinite amounts, and it's like I definitely it's pretty difficult to get across. There's another piece that's sort of been mentioned. Um which is that I cannot disconnect pairs of opposites from definitions of words.
Uh-huh.
I can't do it. Like
Hmm.
if somebody says I'm depressed, okay, the opposite thing would be, okay, what's the opposite of depression? But I have trouble even going to that without going, well, how are we going to define depression? I need a definition first
Hmm.
before I can even go to
Hmm.
the opposite. Me personally, it may not be the case for everybody, but I
It
want to
is the
say
case. It
it
is
is.
the case, Sam. An undefined thing, we can't even know what we're talking about. Is Tom asleep or awake? Well, right now I can't tell. Now it's defined. He's awake. Okay. So, and he's surprised when I say the whatever. I didn't say, "Hey, Tom, blah blah blah," and some accusatory bullshit. But this idea, we haven't mentioned it. You're right, Sam. We haven't mentioned the idea of the definition. And here's the irony. Emergence creates definitions which are relational. They exist only when you know both pairs of opposites. Without knowing both pairs of opposites, nothing is defined in emergence. So a me state and a you state, the me state is knowable because the you state is knowable. And then you can know which one you're in. But there's no definition. I have never made some separate definition for a me state or a you state. It only makes sense in when both pairs are considered, and then the opposite, the natural oppositeness exists.
So let me ask Tom. Tom, are you, I'm going to lead a bit. Are you feeling a little burnt right now? A little burned out? Or
No.
what word? Oh, are you tired or?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, let's just do it all together. Okay, I want everyone to hear the word tired and just find a personal picture that you can really see for yourself for tired. Okay, we're going to start there. Not just like defining Webster's dictionary, but a personal picture of tired. Vern, what do you see?
Feeling like I'm falling asleep when I'm driving home from work.
Mm.
Okay, that's a good one. Maria, I'll come back to you. Maria, can you picture time?
Um, this morning after getting like, I don't know, just choppy sleep all night long.
And what's the scene? You're in the bed. It's looking out the
I
window.
have a t-shirt on, just underwear. My hair is like all fucking crazy. My eyes are like not really opening, and I just have complete dread.
Is any human there or is just you?
Ashtree's on one side, the SETI's on the other side in the bed.
Okay. That's interesting that they weren't mentioned. To me, there's something interest. This is not. I'm not going to digress, but there's something interesting that wasn't. That was like mentioned. I had to ask about that. And Vern was in the car. There's no humans mentioned in that one either. Just an interesting idea. Athena, picture for tired.
Um, right now.
Oh, perfect. Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah, I have this, I can't keep my eyes open. It's just this heaviness. Um,
mm.
yeah, it's a heaviness.
Yes, I felt just like, well, I don't know, just like that, but I would have used those same words to describe my experience like maybe 25 minutes ago. I don't know. I was just sinking energetically. Um, do I want to do every single person? Yeah, all right, we'll do every person and then I'll go. Tom, what about you?
I think my picture is when I first wake up and my alarm clock just goes, and I go, "Ah."
That's very familiar. You can tell. Sarah, go ahead. I love that song.
Sitting behind my desk at work and I'm sitting across from somebody and it's just the words are struggling to come out or to be found. And my eyes just feel really tired.
Okay, Steve.
So this will be a pair of opposites. So I was supposed to fly yesterday and leave Newark at 1:49 and spent the entire day to 7 o'clock with them saying, get off the plane, get on the plane. It's going to leave in 10 minutes. It's not. and finally canceled. So I was not tired from any of that. And I was so surprised yesterday. And the reason why I wasn't tired, that I have been just so wow, is
Wait,
that
wait, but don't reveal anything about the opposite yet, though.
okay? All right.
You can.
So tired, I was going to say why I wasn't
Oh,
tired
okay. Okay.
because that was what I was going to say. I wasn't tired, despite the fact that I'm almost 80 and I left my house at 11 a.m. and I got back to my house at 8:30 p.m. and I had not gone anywhere. I was still home. Okay. Why wasn't I angry, tired, all the rest? Was because for the most part, sitting in the airport and then on a plane across from them, there was a young couple who had a year and a half old dog. The best dog in that situation that I could ever imagine. I just fell in love with the dog. And because I was by the dog, I realized only this morning, holy cow, because the dog and I were so connected, I didn't feel tired the whole time. I don't feel it now. I'm connected to the dog still. Where I did feel tired is my flight was canceled and I'm repeatedly trying to get my money back. And I'm going online and I'm feeling anxiety and I'm like, whatever. And I can't figure it out. And I tried, when I got home again and I gave up. But tired for me is tired of trying. It's not just being sleepy. Sleepy is sleepy. But tired for me is I'm just fucking tired of trying. Whatever it is, trying to figure something out, trying to fix a health problem, trying to get my money back, trying, you know. And I think that trying in here, um, which causes sleepiness, is trying to listen. And when that fails over a certain amount of time, I think that we're exhausted from the effort. Trying can't exist without effort. And getting tired is exceeding your capacity to keep trying.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Okay, then I'm just sleepy.
Okay, there you go.
I know,
But
Tom.
so now I just want everyone to see if you can, without not no idea about what the opposite of tired is for you personally. We're not trying to define tired in a Webster sense, just a personal sense. Try to just find a picture that's the opposite of the one that you gave. Take a second. Tune back into the picture you had. Just try to find a picture. If you can, you may not be able to, and that's fine. But if you can see a picture that feels exactly opposite, just through feelings, not through, because words are really hard to find perfect opposites, but pictures are not as hard to find an opposite for me. Tom, do you have a picture? You're smiling, so I'm just inferring.
Yeah. Um, Actually, one of my last jobs, where I was a psychiatric nurse, and every time I would come in, um, I was the opposite of tired. I wasn't, I was caffeinated, animated, uh, very upbeat and cheery. And I would go in and greet the night staff they just wanted to die. And I was very excited to talk to them, and then
It's amazing even how you sit up in your chair right now. It's incredible. The shift is unbelievable.
mhm.
It's fucking amazing.
But I'm still sleepy.
I know, I know, I know, I
That's
know.
why sleepy and tired are different, Tom.
Maria, could you access a picture that felt that exact opposite? Or was that the precision of that difficult?
Precision was difficult, but when you said just looking for a picture without the words, it helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wake up out of bed, I feel rested, and I don't, and I feel like I want to open the blinds and I want to see the sun and like I want to go talk to people.
Wow. That's deep, man. I can't remember the last time I wanted to talk to people. The sun, though, I relate to the sun. Yeah. Vern, what you got?
All right, there we go. Um, Mine's similar to Tom's. I mean, when I walk into work, um, I see John Benton and we cut up and just the staff being irreverent. Yeah, I'm just energized, you know. Um, yeah, and I don't feel tired. Um, yeah, when I'm doing what I absolutely love to do, you know. Um, and yeah, and teaching people by example just how to be, you know.
Mm. Sarah, you got something?
It's interesting. It's actually the same as Vern and Tom's. It's like going in, seeing everybody, getting to talk to people in the morning, entering in a group and just sort of feeling the vibe, being like silly and playful, like um
Mhm.
almost like again built around different ways of connection in a sense.
Athena, what you got? Did you see something that felt the opposite of the picture of being here and feeling tired?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. And that's okay. Yeah, that's definitely okay too. That
Ironically, you just did it, Athena.
The what?
Sam's question got you to come out of it for a moment. Well, if you watch this back, you're going to see Sam asked the question and you smile and you look happy and present and alert.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing of opposites, which is nice, which is sometimes the person will have an aha just at the absence of the opposite. Like if I say to Sarah, you're looking for a rule, what's the opposite? She may not be able to like find it, although what she came up with was pretty, really brilliant, spontaneous, but it can just be an aha about the fact that they never think that, or you never look. It can be that simple. Doesn't have to be, the aha doesn't have to be the literal opposite. It can just be what's missing from your whole the choice that didn't exist, like Steve talked about. So Steve, I mean you kind of gave opposites already,
Oh,
but
okay. But so something that happened, Maria and I went to, on Tuesday to finish a trust, which means that everything in Emergence, the corporations and everything gets transferred without probate. It just happens when I die, which is so important to me. And I was so appreciative of her help. And afterwards, and she's struggling with some health thing, and afterwards we go to lunch. And the moment, because I love her and I'm concerned about what's happening to her, and I'm not tired, but it is a big deal. But as we get up to leave the restaurant where we were eating, a 90-plus-year-old woman who was about 4 foot 11 and totally wrinkly, a tiny little woman, and her aide who's behind her, who's like a foot plus taller than her, they come through the door. And so I hold the door and I say, young lady, you come first. And that old woman who a moment before was just dead inside, she grinned and she looked at me and she said, I haven't been a young lady in a long time. She laughed.
oh,
Now I'm welling up, I'm smiling, I'm alive, I'm a human being right now. And that woman's smile is still in me right now as I think about it. So no tiredness. This is just like alive from a minute of a person's smile. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, and I didn't even share my picture, but my picture was similar, something in between Tom and Maria. It's waking up in the morning just crushed. Just crushed. Like bad sleep, alarm, not waking up when I want to wake up, when I have to wake up, torture. And then my opposite picture was so juvenile. It was the picture right before I lost my virginity. It was like we're walking down the street holding hands, and the woman's parents are like they drive by and they're going, we're just going to the movie or something. And I can remember the girlfriend at the time just took my hand and we went right back to the house. And I did not feel tired. I did not feel tired. I could not have been more awake. I could not have been more awake. But yeah, and it's interesting it was that moment, not the sex itself, but anyway.
That is interesting, Sam. That's
Yeah.
like one of the most important kinds of distinctions you could ever make because people make assumptions about what's going to make them untired or happy or energized or whatever the words might be. And rarely is it that thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was that moment of the changing directions.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the holding hands, yeah.
And the surprise, Sam.
Yeah, the surprise. Surprise, yeah. Surprise. Um so now this part is in some sense I picked the word tired because it's a little fuzzy. Anybody have a word that feels like the opposite? Go
The
ahead,
opposite.
Maria.
I just put wired before.
I love that because they sound similar. That's so fucking great.
That's, you know what? Boy, that's very
I didn't
clever.
do it because it rhymed. I did it because I literally was just picturing
It felt
what it would feel like the opposite of it, and I was like, oh, they rhyme.
But more than that, wired and tired have a similar excess.
Hmm.
One is the excess of the lack of, too little energy. It's an excess, right? And the other one is an excess of energy. That's perfect. What a
it's really
brilliant word.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anybody
Have,
else have a go ahead.
well, haven't you heard there's like a phrase? It's like,
Haven't
are
you
you feeling
heard?
tired? No, are you feeling tired but wired? Like,
Ah,
I haven't
okay.
heard it.
I haven't heard that.
Maria
like
just rediscovered something.
Anybody else have a shot of a word? I have none, by the way. Go ahead, Tom.
Engaged.
Okay. 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 So, but I guess for a second I want to stop at that with which is I guess part of what I want to get across with this one, which is, man, I mean, I loved Wired. I would have never come up with that. That's fucking brilliant.
Me
But
too.
I think I also want to get across that you can find it's you can always have opposite pictures. And I just want to get across to everyone that a lot of times when we talk about pairs of opposites, I can see people getting hooked in just obsessing about the fucking words or finding a nice theoretical thing. And it's like, first of all, that can't always happen because I can't, like what Maria came up with just now, I couldn't do it. I had nothing. I didn't even have engaged. I mean, I had energized maybe, but that didn't feel precise. But you can always find the pictures. You can still do this without, you may not be able to theoretically download it or it may not be perfect, but you can find each if you look at Tom, maybe he didn't have it perfectly theoretically sewed up, but you could see the fucking opposite. I mean, you can just literally see it if you watch it back, the opposites that he found in terms of the picture. So I just want to just speak to like that process of like, yeah, it's amazing to find the word, but it's not totally necessary to just explore and find something. You can find something beyond the words. Even though I'm obsessed with the words and I love to, when Maria said wired, I felt, I felt wired when she said wired. All my suffering was gone. I love theory more than anything, but I think that's probably why I'm speaking out slightly, not against it, but just like, hey, just remember, like if you're sitting there in the session trying to think of a word, it's like, fuck that shit, just ask about the picture, see the opposite picture. There's ways to move through it. You can think about the word later, you know.
So let me just say something about that, Sam, which is relatively new for me to know. I don't know how many months, not very many months, that I have realized that no words exist in layer seven.
Oh, right. I
No
didn't even.
words exist in layer nine or 10. Nothing exists in layer eight. But the inner four layers, no words exist in the inner layers. No words. And if you want to think about what that's like, if you are in layer nine romantically, are there words that actually describe that adequately ever? No. No, because the words are like a secondary thing. There are no words in the universe that can do that. But pictures always exist in that. If you're in those layers, there is something visual. Even if it is balls of light in layer 10, there's always a picture, but there's no words. And in the outer layers, the outer four, 4, 3, 2, 1. There are always words without pictures. This is a pair of opposites that's new for me to formally recognize because it is an easy way to tell where you are. So it follows everything that you just said about that, Sam, about the inadequacy of words, but it then explains the inadequacy of words
Mm.
that we're basically making it supposedly meaningful sounds, the word, but it doesn't necessarily translate to anything. And if it does become a picture, you lose your words. And if you then have to talk about what you see, you're at best going back and forth between dipping into the picture and then speaking words. But it's 100% what you're saying. Though, if you're thinking words, you're not in the picture. You could be hearing sounds that are words in a picture, but
Hmm.
you're not thinking of them as words.
Yeah, and I like going to the pictures first and then seeing if the words emerge after that is an
Ah,
interesting process.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I'm sure Maria probably had a picture first and then the word wired came after the picture. Is that a
Yeah,
safe inference?
yeah, like I
Yeah.
literally, like I thought about like Einstein and like I just
Like you saw his hair or what?
yeah, like my hair like that.
Oh,
Like if I were
because your hair was like that. Okay, right.
yeah, but I was tired and I was like, oh, it would look like this. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
I think of the first picture now of me having that wired kind of a thing, it is after one of the recent retreats. It's Sunday, and Marie and Jean and her daughters are in Nyack sitting under like a little hooded thing. And I sneak up, I see them, and I sneak up to the edge, and Lisetta sees me, and she goes, Steve. Now, this is like she's a year and a half old or so. I cannot tell you what it feels like, how positive to have a little being know my name, having seen me only a few times in my life, let alone be happy to see me. It's like stayed with me. It's so meaningful. Just that one little shiny face and one word, and it's like she's the first one in the family to see me, and you know, but that kind of thing, that energy never decreases because I look at the picture. If I was to just talk about it, well, I can't. I'm speaking, but I keep looking at the picture, you know? So if I try and talk about something only in words, like I was worried this morning about that anybody would show up because a few people canceled and whatever. So I was feeling tired and ready to quit. Like I'm making all this effort and everybody else and what the fuck and blah, 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 whatever. I was tired. I'm not tired now. Sarah?
Just give you an experience. So I was feeling tired because there's a certain amount of pressure that I put on myself to like stay engaged with my camera on, to look at people, it would be rude, right? The rule is like it would be rude to turn my camera off for too long. No offense taken, Eric, sorry. And I didn't mean it like that. But here's my experience. I stopped, I went downstairs for a second, I turned off my camera and I came back. I kept my camera off just for a couple more minutes, and I was just giving myself permission to just listen without having to look at everybody. And I felt more awake because I didn't have that pressure on myself. And then I thought about clients and how oftentimes in group, the expectation is to like look at the speaker or whoever's sharing versus, just let your mind talk and not have to have those social expectations of looking at people. It was just an interesting pair of opposites that I felt.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about the pair of opposites about like the anxiety of that, of like I have to do this, and I have the anxiety of I don't know what I'm supposed. You actually have some sense of what you should be doing. I have the like a thing where if I'm in a group, I'm just picturing being at a wedding and I'm seated at a table where I don't know any of the other fuckers at the table, and it's like, do I mean, I sit down, I have my salad. I can picture my salad in front of me. Clancy's talking to some other person. I'm like, do I introduce myself? Do I ask? Like, I have a vague thing of like, how do you know the bride? I can picture people asking that, but I literally just sat there and ate my salad. I didn't introduce myself to anybody. I just,
What would you want to do? Like if you didn't feel
but you
pressure.
see, but that's the thing. It's an opposite. What would I want to do? In some sense, what should I do? I mean, these are like, you could probably break it down. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? What do I want to do? What do I not want to do?
Okay, let me stop you, Sam. Given that you had no social constraints, what would you like to do?
Oh, it's what I did. I ate and didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk. I
Ah,
just ate my salad and I just tried to look like not, but I had the anxiety of what do these people expect, whatever. Like what do they
ah.
think of this guy? They're in a conversation. I'm just staring at my arugula.
Hmm.
You know what? So
Tom is so, yeah,
I'm
Tom, you're a
probably way more
psychopath.
autistic, whatever, because my first thought is I'd like to stand up, look like I was going to give a toast, raise my glass, and go, how many of you fuckers absolutely have any fucking care about this couple, you fuckers? And okay.
Yeah, I
Holy
guess.
shit, where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from the pain that I am there where I fucking don't know a thing about social things, don't really want to be fucking talking to any strangers, don't want to be forced to say, what do you do for a living one more time? Like nothing,
Please
nothing.
do that at my wedding.
What's that?
Please do that at my wedding.
Oh my
But I
God,
can
Tom.
picture that same, oh, I can picture the pain of that wedding and the oppositeness of when I was on the dessert line. This guy came in and he was not dressed in wedding clothes. And I could feel the autism immediately. And I went up to the guy. I remember the guy's name was Matthew, and he had Asperger, and he said, I said, how are you? I suddenly didn't feel afraid to interact with him. And I said, how are you? And he said, I just flew in. I said, oh, do you like flying? He said, oh, I have a special interest in planes. And then proceeded to talk to me about planes for about an hour and a half. And we stood there in that spot, and he showed me diagrams of the Boston airport and every single thing and all the flight patterns in the country. And he knows each one and what you're going to see and where the sun's going to be in each time. And it was such an opposite. I felt absolutely enthralled. I mean, talk about a pair of opposites. I went from afraid to I'm not afraid at all to interact with that guy. I felt like I just never wanted to leave.
Let me ask a question to the rest of the group. What are your thoughts about why Sam got energized by a person's behavior who the society would get tired of listening to? Why was Sam energized, alive, present, right? What happened to Sam? And please don't tell me about Sam. Tell me about the situation. What occurred, Tom?
My first thought is the idea of having to do socialized things and how tiring that is.
Good, Tom. That's absolutely one of the points. Yes. Sarah?
The pressure that somebody else is engaging with him, so he doesn't have to try. He can just listen.
Again, good fucking observation. Yes. But there's something else, something more primitive in the pair of opposites realm. Why would Sam be so much? I mean, look,
But he's
everybody knows how smart Sam is, genuine Sam is, all these other things. Why would Sam be so affected by that guy and be so affected in the opposite direction by most of the people at the wedding?
maybe there's like a likelihood that he's also minority personality or social, like so.
That is possible as well, Sarah, but it's still not addressing the basic fundamental pair of opposites.
Well, Sam was, he could maybe even see the guy's need.
Like I'm
And
giving to the guy, you mean? Like
yeah.
I see his need. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, but you said not to say that. I would say because
Okay, Sarah, no rules. No rules, okay? Vern,
A little snuck in there, sir.
all of what you've said so far, okay, and Eric just said connection as a thing. Okay, that's obviously there. But I would then so what created the connection? That'll give you a hint, hopefully. What was not there at the table that was there with the man on the line.
There was
A
no
pair of
need.
opposites. What?
Somebody had a need and
Everybody at that table had a need. They all were focused on faking it. Sam probably the least. He wasn't faking it. He did
Mm.
something that was genuine to him, but it wasn't in a connection to anything. Maybe the connection to the salad, but
A little bit, a little bit.
it's a two. So like, but I don't, but you said not to say Sam.
No, I get it,
it's
Sarah. That's
about,
where I
let
went
me
with
make it clearer, Sarah. The description, the thing I am talking about is a description of the relationship. People in emergence do not get measured in isolation, and I should have said that more clearly before. Athena, you got any thoughts?
No, not really.
it.
Athena just did the thing.
I love when Athena does that.
Right. Athena just did the thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah, that just gave me a little life. Maria, what do you think? You look deep in the tank.
What I have is it's not primitive, it's social priorities, so it's not,
Okay.
I mean, he's free to learn. He's just learning freely. He's not stuck in whatever the fuck the majority socialized native. Just sit there, follow the rules of this thing.
Hmm.
Um,
So each
but
of the
it's
things,
not,
let me try again. The social priority of the man or the social priority of Sam are separate. You're looking at them separately, which matters. They're what allow connection, like what Eric said, right? So the man is obviously story first, and Sam is story first. So there's the piece of it, right? It seems that the man is you first and Sam is you first. So there's that piece of it. This is Sam recognizing the man's nature as autistic and that this is a special interest. So Sam is very knowledgeable about what's happening in the relationship. Okay, all of those things are true. But the point, oh, Tom, let me hear what you have to say.
I was gonna say there's a certain honesty about it
Oh,
where it's
yes.
just like fuck talking about the wedding. Let's talk about airports.
Okay.
And we did.
Tom is really got it in the ballpark. And what I was going to say is that the majority of the people that Sam was exposed to weren't being genuine. And this man was genuine. And now this is an important thing because despite the fact that Sam, I don't think you would ever capture somebody and talk for an hour about his special
Oh no, I
interest,
didn't have to
right?
capture him.
Right. But this man's genuineness is the very thing that was lacking at the table, Sam.
Mm.
That it is what all of us respond to, including Athena laughingly saying, I don't have
Yeah, like
anything.
I just
That was
responded to her saying I don't
genuine.
have any ideas or whatever.
Right. And we respond to this being genuine thing so highly because it's not common. Little kids, we respond to little kids. I responded to that year and a half old boy yesterday and to the dog the day before because they were genuine.
I
There's-
felt so good having him there too. And yeah, it's all those other things are also true. The story piece I could
That's
understand.
right. They're
But
all
also
true.
the idea that this is his family. He didn't go around saying hello to everyone. He's just locked in with a stranger for an hour and a half. There's not like I should go say hi to the bride. Like it was just fucking fuck everything. I mean, it was just joy.
Okay, Sam,
But that's genuine to him. I mean, that was
okay,
genuine.
have you considered that this is both of you because you genuinely listened?
Oh yeah, I was
Do you know
fascinated.
how unusual it must be for that man to have somebody genuinely listen to him?
I didn't consider that, no.
I'll bet you he'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing because I do that so frequently. I just it's just like so normal for me to sit with someone that has autism and listen to the deepest dive of their interest.
But this is in some way, despite your being a good therapist for a long time,
Yeah.
this is you missing, like Sarah, missing the idea that when you are connected to somebody and you are the author, you created in yourself.
Hmm.
You know, you were just yourself. It happened, but it is because it's you. Because it's you, in some sense, you take it for granted. No
Sure.
criticism. You don't realize, okay, like Vern sitting with that person and she likely changed the person's life about giving her, there's another choice. You could stay with it, see what happens, right? Those things are all us being genuine. Being able to teach it is being able to put into words what we're being genuine about,
Mm.
which is not easy. So all of us here, every single person here has this ability to be genuine in places where other human beings would struggle or be unable completely. I have frequently been asked as a therapist, like, how can you just listen to people's problems all day long? And when I try and say to them some words about it, they always fail. And really, if a person's being genuine about their suffering, I prefer that to some being happy in an ingenuous way, in a way that's they're just faking it. That's so empty to me.
Mm.
Tom, this is why you've gotten, in part, why you've gotten promoted and seen as being special, a cut above, all those things that you probably resist hearing, probably makes you go blank, fucking twos. Exactly. But Tom, ultimately we could say it's because you're so genuine. And, Maria, I would say the same thing about you. You're genuinely unhappy in a lot of moments in this group, and you're not having to fucking hide it. And I'm glad. I would rather see you be yourself, even if the suffering affects me. I would rather see that than have you fake anything. I would.
Can I make an observation? I know somebody at work, and I think I'm trying to remember two situations, but one that just was like, she was saying, never let them see you struggle, like to clients, right? And I remember I was like, are you always happy? Like she's always smiling, and she's like, and she's like, I went to anger management class, right? I went to anger management class, and they said if you have nothing to say, then to always smile. And this is a therapist, right? So it's a little scary. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, I don't know when you're being genuine because you're always smiling, but I have no idea if you're actually upset or scared or angry, right? Um, then I quickly get frustrated at myself because I am authentic in groups and I will show emotion back to people. And it's just such a hard reality when the world is expecting be stoic, be nothing.
It is, Sarah. It
Yeah,
is hard.
it
In
was just
effect, socialization is the rules you should follow when you're not behaving in a way that other people will like. It says nothing about being yourself. And in a strange way, some of the rules are things that, if followed, are things that some people are genuine about. In which case, they're not because they're rules, they're because it's the person. And many of the things in socialization, many, not all of them, are really rooted in something that is like a goal for a good life.
mm,
Treating people with equality is something that is in me, but it's a social rule that says you should always look like you're doing that. Okay, well, no, but that rule is moving in the right direction, you know. And yet one of the surprises of my life was meeting my my father's third wife's brother-in-law. That's a mouthful. Who was a rabid racist. And going to lunch and the guy trying to enlist me into the good old boy racist bullshit Southern crap. And I don't know why, but I was kind and genuinely kind and just simply said, please don't talk like that in front of me. And we left that lunch respecting each other, and the respect stayed for the next 20 years. I have no other example of such a thing happening. I don't know how I did that day. I don't know how he did it. I don't care. I would never have thought that that was possible, but we earned each other's respect. So it surprises me. I didn't, whatever. So, but that wasn't socialization. But I also know that there was some degree of socialization that kept me from just outright telling him some, very critical things to his face. But I honestly didn't think. After a minute, I saw the guy, he was a genuine racist. This is what I'm trying to say. And because he was genuine, there was wiggle room for me to see him as a person, not just see his badness, not just see what I would object to. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I see that as when people who are preachy about being atheist. I don't know how an atheist can not see that it's their own religious beliefs that there is no such thing. It's just, look at Tom smiling. It's such an obvious thing to me. People have called me a racist in different groups in my life. And I mean, excuse me, an atheist, not a racist. And um, I, I go, what makes you think that? I freaking don't know. And I allow for the possibility. So fuck off. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Sam, what is your favorite pair of opposites? Something you use in your everyday life, or a few favorite pairs?
Mm. I don't know what to call it, but everybody knows that I love the pair of opposite of like the joke, like a joke pair of opposites. I don't know how to say in a right way, like paradoxical, those kind of things, those
Mhm.
kind of jokes. I love that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. That's what comes to mind. Um,
So just because there'll be people watching this who won't know what you're referring to, could you do your best to describe what you're
yeah,
saying?
I'm gonna try to think of hmm. It's interesting. It's not really like I like the one Maria had. I mean, the ones that are involve other people and make you feel like I don't know why this is what's sticking in my head. I can't, even though I've done a million the jokes, I can't think of one. I'm thinking of when this woman lived with us and her kid. She had a kid that was like 3. And I would do pairs of opposites jokes with the kid all the time. Or if the kid, like the toothbrush thing, like brush your teeth. That this one, if she'd say it's time to brush your teeth, he'd have a fucking meltdown. And then me and Clancy would do this routine where she would go, Sam, it's time to brush your teeth. And I'd go, fuck no. And there's this famous picture of me and him both sitting on the carpet, and Clancy's brushing my teeth, and the mom's brushing his teeth. But we'd be so locked in because we'd be suffering together, me and the kid. I love that shit. It's so funny. And it's just amazing. Like somebody just needs like I don't know, like that's the real beauty of pairs of opposites. The thing on the plane, the thing on the, you know. That's where the use of it, like just the simple thing of he's the only one that's being forced to brush his teeth, and that sucks. Versus doing it with him. Then now it's not it's not an opposite where he's the only one. It's like that using it to be in a thing with the person. Um, yeah, I love that. I love that use of it. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I'll try to think of some of the jokes that I do. I'm sure I've done them even in this group, but. I think
Yeah.
like maybe like if I think about our sponsorship group, like like Sarah's nature wants to give a lot of details, you know? So I may make a sweet joke about that that's very loving, like Sarah, can you tell us a story, but give double the details because I feel like you're really sparse. Like don't cheap out on us. And look at the effect it has, you know? Because it's loving, it's sweet, and it's using the, you know, it's using the stuff. And I feel like that, yeah, that really creates connection. It makes people feel seen. It makes people feel like, yeah, I don't know. There's so much utility. I can't really think of anything that's more useful. And just knowing that the thing exists, like that there might be, like there, like Scene's story didn't exist. You know, like there may be others like that we don't know about that could be just absolutely mind blowing. You know, mind body orientation was right there in plain sight. And it may be just people don't know about opposites, so they just I'm sure people had the thought like that person talks really fucking fast, you know? But what is that thought without thinking of the opposite and what does that mean? I mean, what is that thought? That thought is so that observation is so different than when you start to include the opposite, whole different things start to happen. Because if you include the opposite, then it's like, well, what happens if I do the opposite? What happens if I go faster? What happens if it's just incredible. And it's incredible that not everybody knows about pairs of opposites, even though there's other theories and theoretical. There's philosophers that have mentioned some version of it, but
Hmm.
it just does not catch.
You
Uh,
missed a couple of Tom's faces.
oh, did I really?
Mm.
I always miss Tom's fun fate. This is the opposite of story.
So an example of finding one that isn't obvious, one of my favorite examples involves Sarah's brother and her parents and her younger brother, one of her younger brothers, who was body first, but there'll be people watching this that have no idea what the hell does that mean. And I'm doing, I'm sitting with the three of them online, on Zoom. Um, and Sarah's mother and father are trying to get Sarah's brother to talk. And the more that they try and pressure him into talking, the more silent he becomes. At some point, he folds his arms like this, which I know that so I can so vividly picture him doing that. And there's a huff, of exasperation, but he's not saying anything. And probably goes like 20 minutes or so like this, which is really hard. And then I said to Sarah's brother, I'd like you to text us what you're feeling. I don't know where that came from in me. Well, first of all, he immediately starts texting. He looks relieved to be able to text. In some way, I think it bypasses socialization, that you're looking at your phone, you're not having to look at people's faces. Anyway, it's irrelevant the details of what he wrote, but Sarah's mother, father, and I all cried when we saw what he wrote. I am welling up right now. Well, why? Because that was the first day that I think anybody solidly witnessed how intelligent Sarah's brother was. Intelligent. But because he didn't have quick words, even I didn't have any idea what was inside of his mind. Body first people speak with their bodies, not with their words. And this is so important. Not knowing that for most of my life meant that I assumed negative things about my mother, my father, and my sister a year younger than me, that they weren't that intelligent. Meanwhile, it's completely and utterly wrong. My father was really brilliant, but he saw himself for his whole life as unintelligent because he didn't have the words. Yet he was a teacher in the Navy for 30 years and was very loved by all the men that he taught, very loved. And, but he showed people what to do because he taught heavy machinery, engines, tools, all this other thing. He showed people. He didn't speak about it. He just did it. So, yeah. So these pairs of opposites, while we talk about them and people can hear the words and use the dictionary to imagine, what does it mean mind first? What does it mean body first? How is that a natural pair of opposites? Is there anything else? Are there exceptions? Like all the normal questions. And in our theories, there are no exceptions because of the way it's defining a naturally occurring pair of opposites. Either you speak and understand words in your head first, words spoken and so on, or you understand and speak physically first, physically. With like, and I'm doing some of both because whatever my Italian heritage, but I'm doing some of both. I speak with my hands and I speak with my words, and somehow when I'm speaking, they're not, there's some of both. But if I was to look at it in slow motion, then you would see that in between my words, my body is speaking, my face is speaking, my hands are speaking, you know? So that pair of opposites and knowing about it was really the first of the personality things for me to see after startles and emergence, you know. So anyway, I would want to ask everybody what remains in your mind that hasn't quite landed about pairs of opposites. Anything at all.
I mean, I have just a really broad theoretical question that I would just be curious to see if anything came in your mind, which is, what's it like? How do you know when to give up the search in some sense, or do you? Is there a point, Steve, where you're like, okay, there's just no, or is there a way that you're like, oh, I know there's no opposite to this fucking thing, or you know, I guess I'm asking about a limit with the hunt for the thing.
It's a really good question, Sam. Like Maria mentioned making a map together, and that to me is the most obvious example because the logical geometry, which is one of the two maths that we use, that's a new form of math, great claim. Anybody who goes bullshit right now, please, I invite you to look at the third book, the science book, and look for yourself, right? But the first thing that comes to mind, Sam, is that everything we do is provisional, provided we only use the evidence we have up to now, we can say something, including that this pair of opposites is useful. Um, when I call it perfect, it's because I can't logically see anything else. In other words, I can see my shirt, I can see Vern's top, the colors, the different, but I can't look at both of them and focus. If I try to look at both at the same time, I can't. So in my mind, this is a proof that this is an observable pair of opposites. I can't do the other thing. Somebody might say, well, isn't there a way to do that? Maybe there is a way that I haven't seen. And I can say yes. But unlike people who do the conventional science, the fact that I can allow for the possibility does not keep me from using the pair of opposites to change lives. I cannot say that there is not an ultimate presence or being in the universe that's helping me right now and helping me to speak. I can't prove it. I can't disprove it. But allowing for the possibility means that I'm not alone when I speak. And that really changes my sense of authority because I'm not relying on my own authority as the only proof of something or belief. I am having some sense that if I don't allow for whatever is around me, including all of you right now, to have input into whether I'm missing something or not, if I don't allow that, then I already know I can't be right, except by accident. I have to allow for that possibility of there's more. And honestly, Sam, what you said, in the past 2 years, what have we gotten? Seen story, worldview, a finer view of socialization, a place where those exist between mind, body, and personality. Like there's so many pieces, which most of which are in the new book, um, that I didn't know 2 years ago. What will happen this coming year after this? What will we find at this retreat in a couple of weeks? I am so looking forward to the discoveries. And the discoveries will largely be because we don't do it alone. Because each of us contributes something, even if it's only a brilliant question. Not if. That's really probably the heart and soul. Pairs of opposite questions are really the heart and soul of what we're doing, how we learn, you know? Tom, what have you discovered about nursing recently
Oh.
that you didn't know a year ago? Any thoughts?
Hmm. Um, most nursing is following the medical model, trying to just fix, which is not what I was trying to do the whole time. And I was wondering why there was like a disconnect.
Okay, so let me now, this is immediate. This is what Sam is saying, because I'm the same as Sam about this. My first question would be, is there a time where fixing should be your focus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now somebody watching may now hear an argument in their head, which is it? And our answer is it's both. And that answer is not intuitive. We are trained that we should have the answer, capital T, the one and only answer, wherein we're bookending the whole process. There's a time for fixing, and there's a time for not fixing in the service of the person growing, which we have several of you have spoken about in this group.
I've also noticed that most of the time the person I'm interacting with is searching for a fix.
How does that affect you, Tom?
I kind of get excited sometimes.
That they want to fix?
Yeah,
What's exciting about it?
I feel like in some way I get to change their perception about what they're looking for.
Ah, hmm. In a second, Sarah. I want you to consider, Tom, Sarah's thing at the beginning of group about her feeling she's a bad therapist. Okay. And it was quite obvious that although it wasn't spoken directly, that Sarah wanted a fix. And her head's nodding, so okay, good. So did any of us fix that? No. So I'm going to say it can't be fixed. How's that feel, Sarah? It can't be fixed. Now, you don't know what I mean yet. So this is really important because Sam said about the definition. You don't know what I mean by it can't be fixed. So it's, if you really look at this and look at what I'm saying about it and not your own fears, you don't know what I'm saying. And I hinted at it with what I just said with Tom. Tom, if I get this right, Tom, correct me if I'm not. Tom is saying the medical model is focused on fixing. And he's frustrated in effect that it's not a pair of opposites. It's the only choice, the only focus, the only goal. Right. Now, he didn't directly say it, left to his given time, I know he would have. But then I asked him the question, is there a time when fixing is, the better goal? And he said, yes, right away. There was no trouble seeing that. Now we have both things on the table. We have the idea that the medical model says that the main goal should be fixing. And we have Tom's idea that there's another possibility, which involves personal growth, consciousness, learning, um, a more permanent solution where for the rest of your life you're curious. Okay. But both things are important, both. Like I have, in your case, Sarah, I believe that all good therapists are bad therapists and that it alternates. I believe that anybody who's not a bad therapist is not a therapist. That's an outrageously bold claim, but let me explain. In the way that the general world would say, a bad therapist is a therapist who takes a risk outside the box and fails because the medical model is get rid of the pain. So if you make a risk and it fails, the person has no relief or they even hurt worse. Okay. So that part of being a good therapist is in order to heal, you have to be, in the eyes of the client, a bad therapist. You have to be. There is no being a good therapist without being a bad therapist. Now, we are not talking about a bad meaning the therapist has sex with the client or some outrageously egregious thing. We're talking about within the bounds of being a therapist. And most therapists won't do any of that stuff in their lifetime, you know. But the therapist who's flat, the therapist whose basic demeanor is socialized, will likely never, if at all, whatever, change a life in a way that you call your shot an eight ball, like to say, I know I'm upping the odds that this person's life will change. Right. But you, Sarah, are a bad therapist becoming a good therapist. And you regularly and frequently fuck up, just like I do after all the years, right? So you can say you're in good company. I would say that all of us, Sam, would you
I
say
mean, I
that?
don't know how many sessions I did this week. Probably I had 30 or something. I probably had like seven that were like bad, where like if you watch it, you'd be like, oof, oof.
And
I mean,
then,
you'd see
and
somebody trying. You wouldn't
yeah,
see bad, like there's effort in almost all 30. You'd
Yeah.
see effort, but I mean, there's some stinkers that I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want
yes,
I wouldn't want anyone to see them shits,
absolutely. Absolutely.
please.
Yeah. And Sarah, the point is that okay, we talk about that in order to have an emergence, you have to hit the trampoline hard enough, meaning the negative side of it hard enough so that you bounce up to the top.
Mm.
Now, so that's an easy picture to get, but knowing what that means in a session, okay. And the truth is, I have to also gauge whether the other person in the time I'm speaking to them is capable of having that big of an effort happen to them in this day. Sometimes I know, okay, today is not the day. And that's part of the skill that I'm supposed to happen so that I don't harm somebody. To know I'm not going to waste this big push on somebody who's already so exhausted that there's no chance. Okay, but
Figuring that out is terrible pressure, though, on the therapist. It's very difficult, and so you should, it's really hard, and you overdo it and you underdo it, and it's like a really hard job. I mean, in that way, that piece of it is so difficult that it's like you can't expect the client to know. It's wonderful, and you should encourage them to speak up and say this, that, too much, too little, whatever. But like really, a lot of the times it's on you to like cook the thing. I mean, it's really that's piece is really hard. And I even then, Sarah, is the one time that I get like you, I would love there to be rules about like you get into this situation. You don't push this exactly this much, do this. And it's like it doesn't exist though. And
no,
it's all there is all this it's all intuitive except, but I've done sessions where I will push somebody and then they come in and they go like I couldn't get out of bed for a week and it's like I just am wrecked. And then of course I don't blame I also say did you see a point in the session where you knew you were past your limit and you didn't say anything? Why didn't you say anything? And then we work on that. And then why didn't I see it? And I work on why I didn't see it was past. And it's like, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking painful as shit. But it only happens because I actually pushed. Like I actually risked it. I actually tried. If I was just really, really tight, like most therapists would hear that story, feel terrified, and make sure they never make that never happened, and they would just shrink themselves. And every time they talk, they go, "Is this going to make the person not get out of bed for a week?" But and I understand that. I actually get that. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but I get it, and it's really hard job, really hard.
It's so interesting when Tom had said when Steve, you asked Tom something to the effect of like, what is it like to fix, right, people? And my immediate answer was, I feel an immense amount of pressure to have like the right answer, to know how far to or to not push, um, to know, am I making a difference? That am I pushing enough that something can come from that, right? I had a difficult session and somebody got super emotional, and I can feel in myself sort of this resistance to be like, I'm so scared of you right now. Like, but I don't know what's gonna come from that session. Um,
So think about this, and this will probably surprise some of you because it hasn't been mentioned, but there are two kinds of fixing. I don't care what you tell. Any word that you say, there's two kinds. So one kind of fixing is the kind that's giving you pressure, Sarah,
mhm.
because you're looking for a permanent elimination of a particular kind of suffering, the suffering the person is happening. None of us can do that. Do you get that? We can't fix. None of us can do that. But in the other sense of fixing, the temporary sense, we can do that. And so we're fixing something for today. Today, for today, this person's going to feel a little bit more hopeful about their addiction. For today, this person's going to feel a little bit more hopeful that they'll find love again. Like whatever the real painful things that the person's experiencing. For today, the person's been depressed for like 8 years, but for today, they had a moment where they had some hope. Those are fixes. They're temporary. And in the temporary sense of fixes, we can do that. Maybe today the person is just so broken down, and your kindness and just listening is the fix. And that is absolutely valid in that type of a session. Maybe their dog just died and they really love dogs, and the dog has been with the person 18 years. And so the loss is just horrible for that person. Horrible. For people who don't love dogs, it seems odd, but that level of connection, absolutely. And so what do you do? Do you tell them that the grief is going to end? Probably not the best thing to say on that day, right? What can you do? Well, like in my case, this just happened with somebody, and I talked about my losses from my own having dogs many times in my life, and the pain of it. It never gets easier. It doesn't. It just doesn't. All losses at that level are serious. Okay. But I'm not trying to fix in the sense of diminish the suffering. I am simply trying to be with the person in some way that one day, that afternoon, that hour, there's some relief. That's the word fixing for me. In
Mm.
Tom's case, it may be that the person is given some medical treatment to give them a chance to find more possible ways to heal what's happening. So in that case, he's giving a medication or words or whatever that's going to sustain the patient, and maybe they can find something else. That's fixing. Go ahead, Tom.
I mean, I get the dog thing a lot, or the family that dies, and a lot of times I'll push into it and I'll say, when do you notice the most that they're gone?
Oh, that's great, Tom. Absolutely. And now look why that is the perfect opposite, because it is just simply human nature for the pain to feel like it's going to last forever. And you're asking them to you're bifurcating the suffering, meaning what? I had said bi is having the both pairs of opposites in a natural set, having the other pair come into view, be able to see it. And so what you're doing is you're by the very question saying that, well, tell me the worst times so that you can then see the less difficult times. And you've bifurcated the suffering into more and less. And that's not a thing in a person's mind when they're suffering that badly. All the pain is bad. There's no less. Yeah. Maria, are you are you suffering? Now, anybody watching is going to look at Maria's face and they're going to see that she's saying the truth, and you're going to want to know more. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to ask, and neither am I. And this is one of those times where I'm not doing any fixing. Maria is suffering. I don't, nobody is going to know watching this video. No one's going to know what's going on. I want you to think about that Maria showed up. See, because when we talk about this, our socialization tells us, well, the suffering person should be excused. First of all, Maria didn't excuse herself. She fucking showed up today, and including being a teacher here. So that's very important because Maria is making her own choices. And the second thing is nobody here is trying to fix her. Not one single effort, nothing. And there's not one person here who doesn't know that Maria is suffering and it's affecting us all. This is hopefully an example of a better way to be a human being where we all have suffering, whether it's happening to us or it's happening to us from loving someone else. This is such an important thing to learn because in order to be a teacher or a therapist or a nurse practitioner or any of the helping professions, this lesson about when to fix and when to heal is a completely fundamental. It's the heart and soul of even knowing what are you supposed to do. Everybody hopefully can watching this can see that Sarah is a relatively new therapist and she's so troubled by this question, this pair of opposites. What am I supposed to do? And even in saying the word fixing has two sides, and she's trying to get the fix to be a permanent elimination of suffering, which in human beings, no, that's not happening. Having an emergence decreases the suffering permanently. And in an ongoing thing, if you keep doing the work, it keeps being a half of a half of a half, and it shrinks. But there is no time that there is zero suffering from an injury. We may get it to the point where it really rarely hits us, but it's never completely gone. A half of a half of a half of a half still leaves a part. And so that goal of fixing, eliminating, no, it's not a possibility with human beings. It's not a possibility with a therapist, Sarah, to be all good. It's an absurd idea. No. And so, in some way, we're revealing the actual courage that it takes to be a therapist or a nurse or any of the healing professions. The courage is by its very nature, we will fail more than we succeed. We are not failures, but our efforts fail over and over and over again. Some people hearing this will go, no, that's not true. Well, that's fair enough. I'm not telling you that you can't do this. I can't. I have to allow for the possibility that somebody here is a miracle worker and they can lay on hands and every time it works. Okay. Even though I'm skeptical, I am not contemptuous of such a thing. I am not. I have seen miracles where I can't believe somebody helped somebody heal something and I have no explanation, but I witnessed it. And as skeptical as I am, I allow that it can happen. But I'm not one of those people. I can't do that. I'm just a human being who has a little bit more knowledge of the pairs of opposites than most people do, and that's helpful. But I still have days, Sarah, where I think I shouldn't be a therapist. I just really didn't do a good job today, and what's wrong with me? And feelings of some imposter syndrome or something. Yeah.
I was thinking about the times that I've worked with you, and I don't think you've ever fixed it, right? Like if I'm trying to think, no, I'm trying to think like I don't know if you've ever fixed it, but it's the healing is from being able to talk about it and to be connected with you and to like laugh about it or to
Mhm.
make fun of a situation, right? You
Mhm.
know, and so I guess have there been times where you're fixing? Of course, right? Yes. But it's like those are also how many times I've asked, like, how do I fix X, Y, and Z? Right? It's not like you give me the 1, 2, 3 checklist. You often tell me, I don't know, right? But like being able to sit with you in that helps me to feel less alone with it.
Yeah. And I mean, Sarah, here you are, you're saying you're a new therapist, and yet what you just said is so profound. And you're able to say it. You're being very genuine, very emotional, and very accurately describing this process where there isn't fixing. And um, that means you know more about being a therapist than you realize, Sarah. No, but this is something to try and take in. More doesn't mean you're of great skill or whatever. Your greatest asset, Sarah, is you're genuine. Just like the man that Sam described in the line, you're genuine. That is your greatest asset. Hi, Eric. Hi. So you've been listening for
Yeah.
this. Any thoughts? Because we have some time and haven't heard from you. And this whole topic of pairs of opposites, are you like Sam, affected by how much you know, but you haven't made explicit inside you or teach?
Hmm. Actually, I think it's the opposite because that sounds like a story.
Okay.
Um, no, I mean, I've been laying down for most of this time because I have like an eye infection, but um, and I put this thing on my face, so it's just like helping. But when I heard Sarah talk about this whole thing, like of being a perfect, great therapist and stuff, and I like literally yesterday, I was such a mess and I was sitting with this person. And I tried to do this metaphor. I was trying to do this like incremental change metaphor with this client, and I went to like water and was trying to do, and then in the middle of it, I just jumped ship because it just wasn't working at all. It just like the metaphor made no sense. And I think this person's on the spectrum, so they were even doubly lost, doubly looking at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I just looked at them like, "That metaphor really sucked." And they were like,
Yeah. Everybody
eh,
watching, look at Eric. Everybody watching. Eric is a relatively new therapist, relatively, few years. And here he is saying that he did something that failed in a session. And everybody should look at how genuine Eric is saying this and not self-deprecating or explanation or defensive, or he's just simply saying it as a part of who he is. No apology. He's simply saying he gets credit for that effort. He gets credit for stopping in the middle because he's observing the effect on the person. And he gets credit for finding the next place to go to. But the biggest piece of credit is that he's in this moment not seeing himself as a bad therapist. And yet, in the sense of what we're saying, his effort failed. He's not a failure, he's a success. But the effort itself didn't work. And that is the part of being a good therapist, that you make efforts that fail. And in a sense, you can think to yourself, I'm a bad therapist. Look what just happened. It didn't work. It went flat. Didn't affect the person. They didn't get it. What's wrong with me? No, not so.
And right after that, I did this thing where I just I looked up and I was just like and just kind of like let out air. And they looked at me and they were like, that was so relatable.
Oh my God. And again, what was the big thing Eric brought to the table? Being genuine. Being genuine, even in your failure, being genuine, you know.
Yeah, because I was thinking too when you were talking before about this, I had this a better metaphor. When I was in school, we would talk about teachers and I would say that person won't get in the pool with you. Like there are certain teachers or therapists, they want to sit in the lifeguard position and just be like, swim harder. I'll throw you a freaking thing every once in a while and maybe you'll grab onto it. And there are so many people I've met in the field, if you will, who are like that. And you're like, what the fuck? Like I'm wet. Like when I sit with a client, like the one thing I know that's gonna happen is I'm gonna get wet too. Like I'm gonna get in the pool and I and the only problem is maybe and Sarah might relate, other people might relate, is sometimes I might drown because I do it so fucking much.
Yeah, but you have multiple lives, Eric. You come back
I
another
am a
day.
Leo, so I think I'm on life 7 as a cat. But anyway,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So I think that is a tipping point though too, and that I don't know if it's a perfect opposite, but like like drowning in being with other people.
it is, Eric. It is. I mean, there's a reason that is related to this that Christianity's main claim, not me saying anything disparaging, is that Jesus rose from the dead. And people don't look at that as there's 1,000 years of what might have been called paganism, where this is what they believed with the seasons, that every April the world dies in the winter and comes back and is reborn in April. And then no coincidence that many people believe that Jesus was actually born in April. So like the things are so intertwined in such a natural and beautiful way. And you're saying, in some sense, you died because oh God, look what I did. And in another sense, then you're reborn and to try again. And that's really the courage of doing this. I think regular people want a technique, a 1, 2, 3, this is what I should do. And there is no such thing with humans. There's no 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Sam, have you ever thought you were a bad therapist?
Oh, I mean, are you kidding? I know I'm bad. I mean, by like every definition. I mean, in time, it's all seen in this is where it's beneficial to be story because the story is like I'm good, but there's some real bad scenes. There's some really bad scenes. Oh, I have these images of me and Jeremy walking. We used to go for these walks after we do a group, and sometimes they'd be the fucking worst group that ever. Like I'm like they're gonna come arrest us for how bad that was. Like every single thing sucked, you know. I'd be running around, and I'd like be like, "And what do you think about that?" And every person I called on would be in psychosis and say that Jeff Bezos was gonna fly into the sun, and then I'd try to like go to someone else and they'd scream at someone and it just everything was bad and then everyone's falling asleep and people keep hitting their vape. Jeremy yells at them for I mean it's just like it's a fucking disaster. No one learned anything except that we get angry, like it's just fucking crazy. Like
And here you are.
here I am,
And here you are.
keep showing up.
Yeah. Maria, how about you about being a bad therapist?
Yeah. Yeah. I can picture a bunch of moments just trying to make the connection happen because it's so fucking dead in the water. And I know nothing will happen from there, but the connection just doesn't happen. Um, yeah, I have times where I go to like I should just go be a textbook therapist. At least there's a knowable, in theory, there's a knowable next thing, and I'll feel good that I even just did the knowable next thing, maybe. Yeah, I have some clients where they report how much more I'm doing than any other therapist they've been to, and I feel like I'm doing nothing. I've had clients where I've completely missed things about their personality for a whole year. Also dependent upon what they're reporting in session, right? Like how much we actually can't see.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years in, I still question, is this what I should be doing at times? It's less often.
Which, according to the great me, is the definition of you being a good therapist. How many times have you failed? How many days have you said you don't belong doing this and want to quit? How many of those efforts? And yet here you are, including today, where you're struggling, and yet you show up. And just don't sit there, you're showing up. When called on, you answer. And I don't know if anybody watching will recognize the level of courage that that takes. And I'm not just saying we're the only ones, that's ridiculous. There are a lot of courageous people in the world. Probably a lot of the people, if not most of the people who will watch this will be courageous in that way about not quitting, wanting to quit, quitting and then being unable to stay quit, like whatever those things are, you know. But now I'm going to ask you the question that is probably going to unzip you, Maria. My apologies. Do you think you're a good mother? Now realize that these same criteria applies. If you don't fail as a mother, you're not a good mother.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten better at seeing that I could be a good mother. Um, yeah, I felt like a good mother last night. Um, Something happened with Jean and Lissetti, and she just looked at me and she looked like she was just holding back like bursts of tears. And I just said, "Oh, Boogie." And I just held her and I took her to the bathroom and we sat in the toilet together because it's the only door in this house that locks. It's the one bathroom. So we sat in the toilet bowl and she just cried for like 5 minutes, no words. And
Look at the example of not fixing. And any mother watching this will know how hard it is to not, in
oh,
that
it
situation,
could kill me. Yeah.
fix. Exactly. So, Athena, without giving a dissertation, what has this been like for you to listen to? Because here you have on your agenda that you are at least investigating becoming a therapist. Um, and in the sense of emergence, part of being a therapist is teaching human nature, the things we know. Um, what is it like for you to hear this? Does it make you afraid, excited, worried? You know, what's happening?
No, I just replaced good therapist with good mother.
Good. You are a very good mother. You, uh, you have both daughters have troubles in some way. I mean, all kids have troubles, right? But in particular, one of your daughters, and you have not quit, and you have not searched the world for a fix, and you have grown more and more able to accept the reality of what will have to be. And this has been years that you've done this, and in some ways, you have been the only one who has championed that daughter, the only one, the only realistic person, the one who hasn't looked for the fix, but looked what's going to give her a better life. And every one of those things is you being an extraordinary mother. And I can watch my things hitting the screen and falling on the floor right in front of your feet, where they're puddling up and it's not getting in. Look at Maria knowing what this is like. Look at her. I mean, this is unbelievable that how being a mother and being a therapist have so many things in common where the world says you should be able to fix the pain of your children. You should be able to fix the pain of your clients as a therapist and so on. And fix in the permanent sense, not relieve, fix temporarily, and both matter. So in some sense, you will use your skills as a parent and all the things you've learned, Athena, in your career if you go there as a therapist, because there's a great overlap. I mean, Eric, you apply these skills to your dog. And this is not a joke. This is a very genuine statement. You too, Sarah. I know you do, even though your dog is as needy as you.
Oh.
Oh my. I had a session yesterday with somebody whose dog, he had the dog for, I don't know, about 15 years and really a good relationship. He was a jogger and the dog would go on the runs with him every day. And the dog died about a year ago. And now he's having an argument in his house about getting another dog a year later. And his partner is opposing it. And that was our session for look at Tom's face. The partner is opposing it. And his suffering in that session was about that, obviously when you're in a relationship, you have to consider the other person and how do you resolve a thing about having or not having a dog because it's a black and a white thing. You're going to have a dog or not have a dog. And of course, there's a lot of variables. And I there was no fixing. There's no fixing that. I talked about a few of the times that when times I had dogs and they, whatever. One time I had a dog. We were the fifth family to have the dog. The dog's name was Hendrix. We didn't name him. Um, he was the most remarkable dog because you could try and catch him, and he was like Mr. Miyagi. A smallest move, and you just fell over on yourself, effortless almost. And we were the last family to have him. And I came home from work. He was a medium-sized dog, long-haired, black. And I came home and my wife and two kids are crying, and they said that Hendrix got killed by a car hitting him. Now that Hendrix was the neighborhood's dog because Hendrix would go out in the morning, he'd go to the bus stop with the kids, he'd come back home. He'd go wait at the bus stop later for the kids to come home. They'd bring him back, whatever. And when I got home, they said there all the kids were out in the park behind the houses about this. And I went there and there were probably like 50 kids and we're all crying about Hendrik Stein. So I told that to the man and he felt better. Is that therapy? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Does it permanently fix anything? No. And maybe, because I don't know that that story won't stay with him and he'll be less alone about his dog having died. There's no telling. I do know it was a temporary fix. It did relieve his suffering. Sarah?
It's such a good point because I think oftentimes there's this misconception of therapy and like self-disclosure, right? And so every time I talk about myself in therapy, I think, is it appropriate? Is it too much? What am I sharing? Right. But it's oftentimes to relate to the client, right? To know that like you're not alone in that feeling. But it's just such an interesting difference that
Yeah, there's
in
the
order
pair
to
of opposites in this, though, Sarah, because we're close to the end. But the pair of opposites was present in what Eric spoke about. Eric is trying an intervention. He's trying to do something to help. But there's attention that he's paying to himself about doing it, and there's the attention he's paying to the client at the same time, or like, back and forth to make sure of how this is going, the assessment attention, right? And so that same thing holds true about disclosure. Um, it shouldn't be your first tool at all. Definitely should not. When I worked, when I became a therapist, and my first thing was being a family therapist in a rehab, the woman who hired me and I would sit together at lunchtime because she was as autistic as I was, and she was quiet and I was quiet. And I remember, in order to break the silence, because I was at first uncomfortable with that, I would ask her questions. So I asked her something about admitting that I was in recovery. Should I, shouldn't I, blah, blah, blah. And the woman just really said a couple of things, but she said, you can do that. And if you do that, you will never be a good therapist because you will find the easy way to build a relationship. But if you don't do that, it will force you to become a better therapist over time. Maybe 6 months after that, I was leading a group, a family group, and at some point, one of the family members screamed at me, "What do you know? You're not in recovery." It was gut wrenching to shut up, but I did. And it made me a better therapist by far. By far, I could see that I have to earn the trust of the person through what I'm doing in the room, not because I have some authority, because I have accomplished something as a person. I have to be there in front of the person and show them. And I did. And the universe gave me a reward a year later because it was a reunion at the rehab, tents and whatever for the day of people who had been there. And two of those family members came up to me and apologized because one of them had seen me in an event and knew I was in recovery. And they remembered what they had said to me. So, most times that will never happen. But it's just that idea, the pair of opposites. Like, here's a pair of opposites. They scream at me, "What do you know?" And because of what I had been advised by a woman who really knew a lot, and I took it to heart, I kept my mouth shut. Um, and I remember the pain. I don't remember being resentful or something. I remember the pain. And then it turned around. And I think that that's what happens to us as people. If we find a way to look at the pain as, this is my teacher is visiting me today. I may not be enrolled in the class according to me, but life just is doing it for me. Then, and we're not going to get out of it half the time. We're not going to not have it in that day. But my thing about the oppositeness, we'll close with this, is that I believe that I can't prevent my suffering, but I took a vow. I will not suffer without gain. I refuse. I will get something out of it. I'm just stubborn like that. And that's a pair of opposites because people believe that that suffering is something to get out of. And I believe that that suffering is something to get something from. Anyway, any things before we go? This has been a
I
heck of
would
a
just add to
complicated
that,
thing.
and
But
even if you can't get something, you can at least usually get a connection with somebody about, like,
that's
you know,
getting something, Sam.
that is getting. I guess that's right. Yeah, that's more precise.
Anybody else? Hmm.
I need a
Makes,
nap.
what's that, Tom?
I need a nap.
We need a map. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you for being genuine yet again. Thank
Thanks.
you.